Ladies and gentlemen, game number 2 of today's SCAC doubleheader will start shortly. Here's the starting lineup for the University of St. Thomas. Leading off the center field, number 2, Kyle Sheridan. Batting second, designated hitter, number 29, Brandon Madden. Batting third, the catcher, number 54, Tristan Pitkin. Batting fourth, the left fielder, number 29, Eric Garza. Batting fifth in right field, number 22, Jacob Carrier. Batting sixth at first base, number 23, Leo Galvano. Batting seventh at second base, number 15, Brandon Herrera. Batting eighth at third base, number 32, Mike Newcomb. Batting ninth at shortstop, number 50, Austin Schwartz. On the mound for the Cubs, number 12, right-hander Brady Watson. Now the starting lineup for the Trinity Tigers. Batting first at first base, number 25, MJ Metz. Batting second at second, number 2, Clint Harris. Batting third in center field, number 4, Ezra Gore. Batting fourth, designated hitter, number 21, Nathan Raleigh. Batting fifth, left fielder, number 42, Brian Shaw. Batting sixth at third base, number 6, Christian Holloway. Batting seventh, the catcher, number 28, Tyler Pettit. Batting eighth, right fielder, number 10, Jack Wanderhar. And batting ninth at shortstop, number 1, Tanner Haney. On the mound for the Tigers is number 26, Sam Conti. number 6, the AC doubleheader, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, take it out to the Tigers from Austin, Massachusetts. That's junior lefty Samuel Conti.
Hello again, Tiger fans. It's been a minute, 35 to be exact, but we're back for Game 2 of the doubleheader, and we get right to it with the starting lineup for the University of St. Thomas Celts, looking to salvage a game of this series. Leading off in center field will be Kyle Bearden. Batting second, the designated hitter Brandon Madden. Batting third, the catcher, tough duty catching both games of the doubleheader, but he'll do it, Tristan Pitkin. Batting fourth in left field, Eric Garza. Batting fifth in right field, Jacob Carrier. Batting sixth at first base, Leo Galvan. Batting seventh at second base, Brandon Herrera. At the hot corner, batting eighth, Knight Newcomb. And at shortstop, a new face in Austin Schwartz. So a couple of switches made by head coach David Wood, and it's in an attempt to get something on the board, but it will be tough as they go up against Sammy Conti of Trinity. The big left-hander on the mound there is standing at 6'4", from Boston, Massachusetts, and he has been on an incredible roll for Trinity.
And you talk about that role, Brian. It started a couple of weekends ago out in Shreveport. I know we had the opportunity to talk about it the past couple of games. The performance that he had out in Louisiana, that's really set the tone. It's been what the rest of the pitching staff, the rest of the starters have looked to in an attempt to emulate. He went 8 innings in that one, allowed 7 hits, but didn't give up an earned run in that appearance against one of the best teams in the conference. Came out last weekend in San Antonio, another great appearance against the University of Dallas. That one cut a little bit short, but expect him to work deep into this one, even against a lineup that features 8 right-handed hitters for the Celts.
The first man that he has to get through, Kyle Bearden, the center fielder. We did not see Bearden in Game 1 of this doubleheader, but we did see him last night. He went 0 for 4. But he is a speedy presence atop this St. Thomas lineup, so keeping him off the base paths is goal number 1 for Conti. And he gets ahead 1-2 on the first hitter for St. Thomas.
I think one of the biggest keys for Conti in this one, facing as many right-handed hitters as he is going to be trying to put the baseball on the inside part of the plates, get it in on their hands, although Tyler Pettit sets up on the outside part of the plate right there. Already in this at-bat, Conti looks like he's throwing really, really well. Velocity up where it needs to be for him on the bump. Bearden just a little bit behind the first couple of swings.
This time he's able to lay off of one that gets off the glove of Tyler Pettit, who is also doing the difficult task of catching both ends of a doubleheader. Quite unusual, but Pettit and Pitkin, respectively, for St. Thomas and Trinity. Important presences behind the plate, so they're giving it a go. Did you ever catch both ends of a doubleheader, Luke?
I think typically I would get one of those games off, let the knees rest up a little bit. I think for Tyler Pettit, job made a little bit easier given the fact that Jack Martinez was as impressive as he was in Game 1. Really kept the Tigers off the field for long stretches of time. He kept Tyler Pettit from having to block too many baseballs behind the plate. Did a great job operating right around the zone for the duration of that appearance. Conti right here going to aim to do the same thing to hopefully save his catcher's legs. Does a really nice job early on in this at-bat to get ahead. Bearden doing a nice job responding and fighting here.
Bearden continues to fight, fouling it back the other way The count full for the center fielder, and he's trying to make Conti work and get into the Tiger bullpen that has not had to be busy this weekend. We had the complete game shutout from Joseph Shavana last night, and then Jack Martinez going 7 innings in relief of Cade McGann, the starter. And so only 4 pitchers across 2 games have made an appearance for Trinity. So the bullpen very rested and ready to go, but for St. Thomas has to be the goal to get Conti out of the game and into that bullpen.
Yeah, and Bearden doing a great job and doing exactly what he's tasked with as that leadoff hitter. Approaching that double-digit pitch count already for just at-bat number 1.
Bearden grounds it to short, and it was going to be a tough play from the start. Mets unable to make the pick, and Bearden is going to run all the way to second. And you can see the speed on full display there. Kyle Bearden, as soon as he hit this one, you knew it was going to be a tough play. Look at him run down the line. Haney trying to make the throw from short. Mets unable to pick it up. And Bearden ends up at second. We've talked all weekend long about the speed of the St. Thomas team, and no man faster, really, than Bearden, who has 20 stolen bases on the year. Quite an impressive number that ranks 11th as an individual in the entire country.
And unfortunately for him, he won't have the opportunity to build on that ranking nationwide, but I don't think he'll be too upset about it, standing over there at second base with no outs here in the top of the first.
Well, you never know, and he'll get the opportunity taken away from him here, but he is definitely a candidate to steal third, but he'll get the free pass to third as Pettit unable to hang on to that pitch from Conti, and St. Thomas trying to get on the board first after they've struggled mightily to get in the run column.
Yeah, and I think you go back to that ball batted in the infield. A nice job from Conti not to be deterred, continuing to attack the strike zone. Good job from Bearden to eventually put one in play after pretty clearly being behind in his timing. The first couple pitches of that at-bat put solid contact out there. Unfortunately for Trinity, however, what I imagine could potentially go down as an error. I know you mentioned the speed that Bearden has on the base paths. Certainly going to make that one a tougher play.
Another pitch behind the backstop. Conti throwing it over the head of Tyler Pettit. Walks the hitter Madden on 4 pitches and a quick visit to the mound. Will come here as Conti has runners at the corners and Pitkin, the catcher, at the plate. And it's head coach Tim Scannell making the visit to the mound here, not pitching coach Dave Smith.
You think back to that play that starts things off for the Tigers early on this evening. That one sent on the ground over there to shortstop, and I know we've already talked about the speed on the base paths that Bearden provides, but that one underthrown. Not egregiously misplaced, though. Looks like Mets perhaps has the opportunity to pick that one over there at first base. All around, not something that we've seen from this defense in the last couple of games. They've looked really, really solid, but just failed to connect on that one to start the game. Conti being affected by it a little bit right here to start this one.
First pitch after the visit, a strike on the outside corner. So we'll see if Sammy can recover and limit the damage to either 1 run or no runs at all with runners at the corners and nobody out. The heart of the St. Thomas order up. A check on the runner over there at first, Madden.
If you think about who you would want up in this type of situation, trying to get out of this inning unscathed, there might not be any name that comes before Sammy Conti. A good opportunity to start right here with Pitkin, the only left-handed hitter standing in right now.
And a misfortunate throw here that goes away into left field.
And
a run comes across to score.
couldn't tell from this original angle what happened down there at third base. I think that one hit off the runner's foot, perhaps, and it skirts towards that gate out there down the left field line, and I think it just happened to sneak right underneath it. So an odd play, certainly something that we haven't ever seen here on the broadcast, but as you mentioned, just unfortunate right there. Nice idea by Tyler Pettit, just had the runner right in his way.
And it was an interesting approach from Pettit behind the plate. Very nonchalant of him. Looked like he was just going to throw it back to Conti and then gunned it over to third. But unfortunately for him, it hit Bearden, went all the way to the fence over there near the bullpen. And so the runner not only coming across to score, but Madden being awarded third base as the ball got out of play over there underneath the fence. And so a runner at third with nobody out, St. Thomas ahead 1-0, and Pitkin takes ball 4 low. The Celts with their first lead of the series. They've trailed throughout, starting yesterday in Game 1 and in Game 1 of today's doubleheader. But they jump ahead and are looking to make some noise with Garza now at the plate. And Garza maybe earning himself the spot in the starting lineup with what he did in his pinch hit opportunity when it looked like the game was going to end in 7 innings. Eric Garza crushed a 2-run homer over the left field wall, and he kept the game going for an inning longer. And so Coach Wood and the Celts may be liking what they're seeing, giving Garza a chance to start in Game 3. He looks at a fastball high.
Yeah, just an unfortunate start to this one for Conti. Looking back to that last at-bat, that offering in the full count to Pitkin looked to be a really, really competitive pitch. Just haven't seen Tyler Pettit set that target low in the zone very frequently over the past couple of games. He's been looking for it middle, at time to elevated, but almost never down in the zone. See on that one, caused him to drop the glove in order to catch it and pulled it just below the zone.
Garza gets underneath this one, skies it out to left field. The ball is carrying, and it is out of here. Brian Schaub runs out of real estate, and Eric Garza with the 3-run homer. And the Celts jump all over Conti here with a 4-0 lead.
Yeah, and I think off the bat, neither of us really had the expectation that that one was going to leave the yard. Saw that angle of left field where it looked like Brian Schaub had a little bit of a beat on that one. That just kept carrying, as you mentioned, and it snuck out of here in left field.
And a second visit to the mound for Conti will not be one he wanted. Dave Smith comes to the mound, takes the ball from Sammy Conti. And a shocking development here in San Antonio as St. Thomas jumps ahead 4-0 and knocks the starting pitcher out of the game. We'll take a break on Tiger Network to meet Jonathan Newman, the new pitcher for the Tigers. Certainly hope you didn't blink or didn't miss the start of this one. St. Thomas getting right to the action with 4 runs already on the board before an out has been recorded. And Jonathan Newman, the man tasked with stopping this St. Thomas run, he blows this fastball by Jacob Carrier.
Already here in this one, Celts have eclipsed their run total in games 1 and 2. Just have to imagine the type of confidence that instills in an offense. For the first time this weekend, we're really hearing from that St. Thomas dugout that exploded after that home run.
And you have to give the St. Thomas squad some credit. It cannot be easy to be shut out on the opening game of a big series with a conference rival, and then you follow that up with a Game 1 loss in which you're run ruled in 8 innings. You could easily fold and head on home, hop on the bus back to Houston, but clearly they are here to play and they want to take a game from these Tigers. They have come out aggressively. They have certainly given notice to this Tiger team that they will not go down quietly.
Yeah, and it's especially difficult to do immediately afterwards, 30 minutes after that type of result.
Carrier looking to follow up Garza. Wallops one to left, but it'll go foul. But these bats from St. Thomas, unlike what we've seen this weekend, all over the baseball so far in the first. You see Carrier choking up with 2 strikes. He chops it to the left side. Haney, a tough play, and he will not be able to make it. The ball into the outfield, and Carrier will take second.
And so far here in this one, it hasn't been the worst baseball that the Tigers are playing. There's been some mistakes that have been made. It's just the fact that they're snowballing and they're adding up, just playing into each other. It's a good play, or the right play, from Haney out there at shortstop. Appropriate to charge that one that's skied high after being grounded hard right around home plate. The only opportunity you're going to have to get it out is if you come in hard on that one, but unfortunately that one just kicks off his glove and then no one there to back him up.
Leo Galvan at the plate looking to move the runner over or move him in. A big swing on a pitch down and in from Newman. Newman, a regular presence for the Tigers early on in the season, but we have not seen him since the game against University of Mary Hardin Baylor, so it's been a few weeks since Newman's been on the mound. But you see what he can do when he's on there. A beautiful changeup to get Galvan swinging. And behind in the count, 1-2 is the first baseman. But Newman gave up a hit and a walk against the Crusaders of Mary Hardin Baylor and did not end up recording an out in that outing. Here, Galvan, another chopper and another bobble by a Trinity infielder will let the runner reach first and advance to third. That is Holloway over at the hot corner. And everything going the way of St. Thomas early.
Yeah, and a very similar play right there to what we saw on that batted ball out to shortstop. Another one hit really right around that home plate territory. Grounded hard, and it results in a ball high up in the air. Not going to travel all the way to the third baseman, not going to get there quickly. Forces Holloway to come in on that baseball.
Runner going on the pitch, and he takes second with ease. Not even a throw from Tyler Pettit. And now you're starting to see St. Thomas doing what they do best, causing chaos on the bases. And they have 2 more runners in scoring position still with nobody out.
But again, you look at Newman and what he's done since he's come into this game. Outside of that one right there that gets away from Pettit, goes down. That one just kicks off his glove off to the right side. Newman, before that, induced 2 really great results, getting ground balls that stayed in the infield, really soft contact.
Herrera makes hard contact, and he's going to drive in a run and reach base with a single. Brandon Herrera, making just his 5th appearance of the year. And he gets an RBI single for St. Thomas. 6-0 the lead for the Celts.
Yeah, a long inning is getting even longer right here. Important for Newman just to keep doing what he's done to this point. He's getting the results that he wants. He comes into the game trying to get ground balls. We'll see if he'll have the opportunity to continue right now.
Don't know that he will. Dave Smith takes the ball from his hands. And an out yet to be recorded in the first, and we will be on pitcher number 3 for the Tigers. We'll take a quick break as the shot continues here in San Antonio. Harrison DeRoe in from the bullpen, and he looks to stop the bleeding here in the first. St. Thomas with 6 runs across and still nobody out. Knight Newcomb at the plate. And a great breaking ball from Harrison to get things started. DeRoe certainly seems to be someone that could point things in the right direction for the Tigers as they look to get back into this one. He's had a couple of great outings in a row as he checks on the runner. At first, Harrison coming in Game 3 against Dallas, going 4 2/3, not giving up a run and striking out 8. So the strikeout pitch has been working for Harrison. Goes back to the breaking ball. This one misses just a little bit high. So you have that outing in which he went 4 2/3, and then you add the past couple that he's had. Harrison's now gone 8 2/3 innings without a run allowed since March 19th.
And a big reason why he's been so successful has been because of that breaking ball that we've seen a couple of times already in this at-bat.
Runner going, Pettit up with the throw. It's wide. Harris has to reach over to get it, and he won't be able to put a tag on the runner.
Yeah, but right off the bat, looked like the batter moved in front of Pettit behind the plate. We'll see if we get a little bit of that on the replay. I think we do. It's Newcomb standing in the batter's box right now, and swung, and momentum of that swing carried him across Pettit's face. Not something that we typically see, but all of that's going to induce a conversation between the home plate umpire and head coach Tim Scannell.
for Herrera at the moment. It will go down as the first stolen base of the year. But this is just his 4th game of the year. And so not a huge surprise to see a low stolen base total. He did have a couple his freshman year. But we're really seeing St. Thomas where they feel the most comfortable, stealing bases. That's already 2 in this first inning. And that's after they had none last night and just 1 late in game 1 of this doubleheader. So the Tigers had done an excellent job of keeping the speedsters at their base, but just like everything else, it's turned around in the first inning. Another breaking ball in the dirt and another one that gets to the backstop.
Yeah, just some unfortunate bounces for Trinity here in the first inning. Pettit behind the plate, typically so sure-handed, but throughout the course of a season, when you see balls in the dirt, especially breaking balls with the rotation in the spin that's going to cause them to kick back the opposite direction, you're bound to see pass balls every once in a while. Just come at an unfortunate time here in this one. All the momentum seems to be going St. Thomas's way right now. Is in a full count right there. DeRoe does a nice job of spotting that fastball on the inside part of the plate. Actually, reverse course here as the count on the screen of 2-2 was correct. So Newcomb will head back to the box after making that jog down to first base. The count will now be full.
Fascinating, because so often we feel like we're maybe a little bit behind. We do our best to stay up to date with the count. But right there, Newcomb making us feel like we were wrong. We had the count right. So thank you, Control Room, for being correct. And Newcomb, you can now go sit down in the dugout with a strikeout. So a good comeback from Harrison DeRoe to strike out Newcomb after he thought he had walked.
Yeah, and a great job having the confidence to go back to that breaking ball after we saw one in the dirt squeak away and allow the runner to pick up those extra 90 feet. He's going to need much of the same right here, trying to get out of this inning without allowing any more runs. Already down by 6. Tigers will have a big challenge ahead of him.
The challenge remains here in the first inning as well, because there is still a runner at third with less than 2 outs, just that 1 out on the strikeout. So would not take a hit necessarily to score a 7th run in the inning. Schwartz looks at a fastball up and in for strike 1. Schwartz, someone we have yet to see in this series, making just his 7th appearance of the year overall. Austin Schwartz, the freshman from Cuero, Texas. He's filling in for Brown at shortstop.
Despite those just 7 appearances on the year, demonstrating some really great discipline at the plate, being able to lay off that last breaking ball, but 2 times in a row, a little bit too much. Nice pitch from DeRoe right there, going right back to it to draw the count even at 2-2.
We'll see if Harrison goes right back to that breaking ball that's gotten several swings and misses already. He does. It's in the dirt, a nice block by Pettit, but Schwartz this time laying off. Great to see DeRoe trusting the curveball and trusting Pettit even with a runner on third and even after the wild pitches we've already seen. We'll have to maintain that trust to be successful, as that curveball so important for the pitcher. The 3-2 breaking ball gets Schwartz swinging, so that's 2 in a row for DeRoe. And he has the chance to leave that runner at third and bring his offense to the plate.
Yeah, and that breaking ball especially important for Harrison DeRoe in this one. Talked about it in the first action of the doubleheader. This is a St. Thomas squad that all weekend long has struggled hitting that breaking ball. Started on Friday night Joseph Shavana, similar to Harrison DeRoe in regards to how they use that breaking ball, willing to throw it down in the dirt as a wipeout pitch, but also have the control over the pitch to drop it in there for a strike.
And with Kyle Bearden at the plate for the second time in this inning, hard not to point to his at-bat as the reason this all happened, as he swings over a breaking ball that is working well for DeRoe. Harrison gets ahead 0-2, but Bearden, his first time up, starting the game, had a 9-pitch at-bat, fouling pitch after pitch, and it ended up in an infield single on a little ground ball to short that then the throw got away from Metz. Bearden ended up at second, and it really got this offense going. Little spark plug for Bearden, who did not play in Game 1, so you can see him make an immediate impact in Game 2. Bearden able to lay off of that one in the dirt, and it gets past Pettit, a wild pitch, and a 7th run for St. Thomas. Nearly out of the inning was DeRoe, but the breaking ball getting behind the catcher, and a touchdown on the board for the Celts.
Yeah, a huge first inning here for St. Thomas. 7 runs on the board after putting up just 3 in the previous game, none last night. But for the Tigers, you have to look to that line score. You're circling the 4 errors that have been committed here in the first inning.
Definitely a first inning we didn't expect here in San Antonio, but Harrison DeRoe comes in from the bullpen, does the best he can, ends up striking out the side, does allow a run to come across from third. But this Trinity offense will have its work cut out for him. A 7 spot for the Celts in the first inning. 3 hits, 4 errors for Trinity, and lots of wild pitches in between. We'll see what the Tigers can do offensively after this break on Tiger Network. Don't know if Brady Watson expected to take the mound with a 7-0 lead, but there he is on the mound with that lead intact. The senior from League City, Texas will try to get through this Trinity lineup and hold them to under 7 and steal a win for St. Thomas, and he starts things off with a strike to MJ Metz. But Metz certainly the right guy to get things going for the Tigers after the day he had earlier.
Yeah, great performance in Game 1, going 4 for 5 with that big home run that broke a little bit of a drought for MJ. Watson, you mentioned those 7 runs. The first time that the Celts have had a pitcher on the mound throw with a lead of any size. But important here not to get too lackadaisical. You want to allow yourself to pitch to contact. But you still need to induce pop-ups, soft contact in the infield.
Metz with some contact to short. No trouble for Schwartz, who gets MJ out at first.
a good start for Watson right there. Facing the big 6'5", 6'6" first baseman for the Tigers. A real daunting task to start the game. Certainly calms the nerves a little bit to come in, get the first out of the inning, especially after all the action and the excitement that we've had so far.
Swing and a foul tip from Colt Harris, who we did not see in Game 1 of the doubleheader, but we did see last night. Colt going 0 for 4, bringing that average down below 400 for the first time in a while. But still someone who has been red hot atop this order for Trinity. Stares at a breaking ball in the dirt outside for ball 2. Big looping breaking ball, and Harris just flails at it with one hand, unable to make contact. And 2 quick outs for Watson on the mound. For Watson, his last outing against Texas Lutheran as well. He started Game 3 of that series against the Bulldogs. He went an inning and 2/3, gave up 4 earned runs on 4 hits. An early exit compared to his teammates, Landon Murray, who went 8, and Chris Parsons, who went 5. The game in which Watson appeared ended up being one of those prototypical D3 games, 11-9, the Bulldogs pulling out that victory. A back-and-forth affair in Seguin in which St. Thomas actually led 7-6 in the 4th and then 9-8 in the 8th inning. But they allowed 3 runs in the 8th, and TLU came back to sweep the Celts. It'll have to take a similar effort for the Tigers, a big comeback for them to pull off the sweep.
Yeah, but promising for this offense that's already put up 18 runs across 2 games in this series. You look to Watson and what he's done on the year. We mentioned in Game 1, big drop-off after the first 2 starters for this Celts rotation, Murray and Parsons. We saw last night and earlier on today a big drop-off in the number of innings pitched. Both those guys having thrown 40-plus innings this year. Brady Watson comes into this one having only thrown 21 himself, giving up 35 hits, walking 15 batters in that span. So for the Tigers, there will be the opportunity to put runners on base and move them around. And after the offense has already gotten hot today, you have to imagine that'll be especially likely.
If there's any offense that can do it, Trinity certainly one that can, as Gore nearly picked off by Watson with a huge lead over there at first. This is a Trinity offense that averages over 9 runs a game, so merely getting to their average would be enough if they can hold St. Thomas to that score, but of course easier said than done. And the games are played for a reason as Brolick lays off a changeup down and away. Trinity has mounted a similar comeback in a home game earlier this year. Gore takes off for second, and he'll have that bag stolen. The tag applied by Schwartz, but not in time. Trinity fell behind 6-0 against McMurray, and they came back to win that game 13-9. So this deficit a little larger than that at 7-0, but nothing the Tigers can't do if their bats are going the way they have been lately. Brolick will try to begin the comeback here, has a runner at second. And Brolick crushes this one deep to right field, and it is way out of here. Nathan Brolick pimps that home run and brings the Tigers a little bit closer with a massive 2-run shot.
Get a good look at it right here. That one looked to be some sort of breaking pitch that just stayed up in the zones, ran onto the hands of Brolick, but he did a great job of pulling them through, getting the barrel to the baseball. He took a second to watch that one go. I'm glad I held my tongue before that pitch, Brian, because I was going to say, we talked already about the tendency of this team, the capacity they have to come back in this one. I was going to say they need to focus on stringing things together, playing well in situations where they have 2 outs, trying to just drive a runner in, not trying to do too much, not trying to get it all back at once, because at this point, that's not going to happen. But Brolick proverbially shut me up right there with that big home run. But good job from Trinity to just start small here in the bottom of the first, scratch a couple of runs themselves. The way Harrison DeRoe threw in the top of the first inning really settled in nicely for this staff. You have to like the way things going after the Tigers get 2 back themselves.
Definitely will be a slow and steady comeback, but the Tigers start well to get 2 in the first, and I think, Luke, you're forgiven for not expecting a home run from Nathan Brolick. That is his first career home run at Trinity. A massive blast for Brolick there to get the Tigers in this game and give them a little momentum heading to the second. Harrison DeRoe back on the mound, and we'll be back after a quick break. You can't say we didn't warn you to not park near the outfield here at Trinity. And Nathan Brolick showing you just why that is. I have to believe that either hit a car or got awfully close, as that is one of the farthest home runs we've seen hit here in San Antonio.
Yeah, and you talked in game 1 about parking out beyond left field, hoping that you parked deep enough. I know out there in right field we have those signs to park at your own risk, fly balls possible. I thought I was avoiding that myself. I parked in the second row of cars facing away from the baseball field, but I don't know if anyone was safe as far as we imagined that one traveled.
You'll have to check on your car and let us know, Luke. We're worried. But I think the signs maybe should say, park at your own risk, Nathan Brolick at work. And now Harrison DeRoe back at work as well, ahead 0-2. Gets that one in the dirt, Madden laying off. St. Thomas still ahead 7-2. And they look to expand things here because, as we've talked about, no lead is safe when you're facing Trinity. They'll need every run they can gather. Madden puts it into play. But it is caught out there in right by Jack Vonderhaar. Out number 1 for DeRoe.
Yeah, good job from DeRoe in this at-bat, getting way ahead, going up 0-2, and then in that 1-2 count right there, dropping that curveball in the zone yet again, forcing these Celt hitters to pick up the bat. Know that they were able to put up 7 runs in that first inning, but still seemingly struggling with that breaking ball. It's something we talked about throughout the duration of the game last night. Joseph Shavana had his breaking ball working and really set himself up to perhaps go to that elevated fastball. Not something that we saw a ton, maybe once or twice in the later innings, but something that DeRoe will possibly have working for himself as well.
Fastball blown by Pitkin on a 2-0 count. Duro not afraid to attack the catcher in a hitter's count. And the heat too much for Pitkin. Pitkin with some good contact here, but Ezra Gore ranges over to make the catch. So things looking much better in the second for the Trinity pitchers than it did in the first.
Yeah, and one of the few times this weekend that we've seen one of those breaking balls from a Tiger pitcher get barreled up. No surprise that it was Pitkin with the bat in his hands who was able to do that. Even then, it's one thing to put the bat on the baseball. It's another thing to barrel it up. And it's an entirely different thing to try and put it down into a gap in the outfield when you have Ezra Gore ranging out there.
Check over with the first base umpire. Says Garza went around, count 1-1. But Eric Garza, talk about making a quick impact on a series. He has had 2 at-bats, and he's had 2 home runs. He came in to pinch hit in Game 1 of the doubleheader, hit a 2-run shot, and then in the first inning of this one, sent a 3-run homer to that same left field fence. So Eric Garza showing why he got the start in Game 2.
Yeah, and certainly have to imagine that Harrison Duro is cognizant of that. Seeing him go to that breaking ball up in the zone, something that you have to be careful with against a guy that's hit a couple of consecutive home runs, but instead of getting hurt, he absolutely freezes Garza with that one right there.
A 1-2-3 inning for Harrison Duro, badly needed to bring the Trinity bats back to the plate. The comeback looks to keep going in the bottom of the second.
Bottom of the second, leading off for the Tigers, number 6, Christian Holloway.
First pitch a little high to Christian Holloway from Watson. And another ball outside, this time to Holloway. Has to be an interesting feeling to not even take the mound and have such a big lead. You probably try to keep the same approach, but you have to imagine that Watson feels a little differently than if it were a 0-0 ball game.
Yeah, I think you're certainly right about that, but I think there's a spectrum to it. You obviously want to try and get out there quickly. I think that first inning took some 30-35 minutes, and if you're making a start, I'm sure Watson was eager to get out on the mound, but hard to be too upset when you finally do get to appear on the bump. You're leading by 7 runs and you haven't had to do any work at all.
He's taken the count full to Christian Holloway. Holloway grounds it up the middle, and it's going to get into center field for a base hit.
A nice job from Holloway right there. That fastball elevated just a little bit in the zone. Christian doing a nice job getting his hands up there, making sure that he gets on top of the baseball. Last thing you want to do is sky that one in the infield or in the shallow outfield. But if you ensure that you put the barrel on it, hit the middle third of it, you're likely going to hit it really hard.
Speaking of hitting it really hard, Tyler Pettit, a first pitch single into left. And the Tigers have something going in the second. Pettit pulling that one, but I have to say I don't remember the last time I saw Christian Holloway pull a baseball. It seems like he's been hitting everything to right or to center field. And I think it says everything about the approach he's had that's given him the success as of late. He went 2 for 5 earlier today, already with a base hit. And now the Tigers with a couple of runners on, nobody out, Jack Vonderhaar to the plate.
To be fair to you, though, Brian, he still put that one to the right side of that shortstop. So maybe on the left side of second base, but doing his best job to keep that one up the middle.
Oh, definitely. I'm counting that one as up the middle. Might have been a little to the left of the center fielder, but definitely still up the middle. And he's kept everything to the opposite field, so I agree with you 100%. The approach he's taken certainly working. And the approach of Vonderhaar also working as of late. Vonderhaar pulling a home run to right center field earlier today. Anything similar would certainly get this game right back to square one.
And to continue the trend of scoring in consecutive innings that the Tigers set for themselves in Game 1. They scored in 7 of 8 innings earlier on today, including all of the first 6 innings before being blanked in the bottom of the 7th. It's exactly what they need to do to get back into this one, though. Scratch 2 across in the first. Now runners on first and second with still nobody out here in the bottom of the second.
Vonderhaar gets underneath this one. And the center fielder, Bearden, gets behind it, throws to third. And the throw gets away a little bit, so Holloway will be safe at third. Seems like Vonderhaar just missed that one.
Yeah, it looked like he got a little bit underneath that one. Not being helped by the wind the way the batters were in Game 1. Still blowing out to dead center field, but not nearly as hard as it was earlier on today. Good job, though, by Holloway over there at second base, making sure that he takes advantage, gets those extra 90 feet. That one not nearly as deep in the outfield as I imagined it would be off the bat. Bearden doing a nice job of getting to it, getting it back in quickly.
So there is one away, runners at the corners, and Tanner Haney up at the plate. Haney making his first appearance of this series versus St. Thomas. Getting the start at shortstop, batting ninth. Runner going with the pitch. And Haney grounds it foul behind him. Michael Montreza had gotten the first 2 starts of the series. And now Haney filling in at shortstop, and between him and Montreza and then Jack Baker earlier in the year, the appearances are pretty evenly split between these shortstops as Haney swings over the top of one in the dirt. Runner not able to advance. But Montreza now at 13 appearances on the year. Haney with 12 with this start. And Jack Baker, who has not been playing as of late, at 7. But he had several starts at shortstop as well, a position that has seen lots of rotation early in this campaign.
Yeah, but over the last couple of games, despite that rotation, a lot of really solid defensive play at that position. Unfortunately for Haney, early on in this one, got the short end of the stick on a really tough play, one that was a little bit of an in-betweener. I like the aggression, something that I think this infield and defense as a whole lacked early on this year. So if you're going to get hurt, I think it's better to be the aggressor in those situations. Make it known that you were giving it 100%, trying to record an out. And Haney made that apparent earlier, and doing a great job as well in this at-bat, working things full after a couple of swing and misses on some pitches that weren't particularly close to the zone. Making the adjustment here, exhibiting some great plate discipline.
That discipline has gotten him to a full count. And Haney slaps it the other way and gets it into right field. Talk about an approach sending it the other way. Tanner Haney on the 3-2 with the RBI single. And the Tigers keep on creeping closer. 7-3 now.
7-3, and now with runners on first and second base, still just one out here in the bottom of the second. It's going to bring back to the plate the top of the order. So a great job by the 6 through 9 hitters, Holloway, Pettit, Vonderhaar, and Haney. In their first at-bats of the day, record 3 hits. They go 3 for 4. And now MJ Metz is going to look to right the ship again. Stepping into the box 0 for 1. Ball that he hit hard over there to shortstop was a pretty routine play, but he continues to swing the bat well here in Game 2 of the doubleheader.
A visit to the mound from the catcher Pitkin, talking with his pitcher Brady Watson. Must be an ominous feeling on the mound and in general for St. Thomas to kind of feel the inevitable of this Tiger team battling back. Even as difficult as that first inning was in which St. Thomas scored 7, you just always get the feeling that this Tiger team is in it. And they've shown that already with 3 runs in the bottom of the second, 1 out away, and 2 runners on with Pettit at second and Haney at first. Mets had 5 runs batted in Game 1, looking for a pair to bring his team even closer. A check on the runner and a wild throw gets into center field. Nowhere close on that one. And the RBI opportunity even better now for Mets.
And wild throw is right, Brian. That one missing to the right of the second baseman, Herrera, right there, who wasn't particularly close to the bag. So that one certainly 6 or 7 feet offline, if not even more. Takes away the double play, which is probably the biggest aspects of things right here. Watson has the ball taken out of his hand right there. Unfortunate for him. And a nice first offering on that big breaking ball that he was able to drop in there. But we'll wait, get a different angle, and see who's coming into the game now for the Celts.
Coach Wood not wasting any time, sensing that the Tigers are right on the doorstep of being completely back into this game. And so he makes the pitching change. We'll take a quick break and be back for this great opportunity that the Tigers have. The Celts turn to Cole Grimes, the junior from Cypress, Texas, to try to get out of this jam. But it is quite the jam. MJ Metz to the plate with runners at second and third, and an interesting decision always to see the move made in the middle of an at-bat. Coach Wood not liking what he was seeing from Watson at the moment. So 0-1 the count to Metz. And now 1-1 on the first pitch from Grimes. Grimes ready to go, but Metz taking his time getting into the box. This is Grimes' 7th appearance on the year. He has 2 wins on the year. Here, a ground ball from Metz down the line and foul. Barely foul for MJ there. But Grimes coming in last, exactly a week from today. An inning and a third against Texas Lutheran. Gave up 4 hits and a couple of runs, only one of which was earned. He's ahead on Metz, 1-2 here. And Metz lines this one into left. It'll get down for a hit. 1 run comes across to score. Haney will hold up at third, but keep the wheels moving for the Tigers. 7-4 now, St. Thomas.
And a great job from Metz right there. That one looked to be a breaking ball. Made the adjustment after that fastball on the previous pitch that he sent just foul down the left field line. Had to wait back even longer on that one. But he did a great job in doing so. Able to deposit that one right in front of Garza in left field. Now the Tigers continue here in the bottom of the second with still just 1 out, doing a nice job passing the baton from teammate to teammate. Things started with the bottom half of the order in this inning. Holloway, Pettit, Haney, the 6, 7, and 9 hitters doing their job to hit and reach base safely. Metz continues it for the top of the order right there.
Ball in the dirt, gets away from the catcher, and Metz with a dive into second. Safe. And Harris, like Metz before him, now has the opportunity with 2 runners in scoring position. Metz with that last hit now up to 6 runs batted in on the day between the 2 games. Just a phenomenal output. A strike on the corner to Harris.
And we saw in that last at-bat, Grimes throw that breaking ball in a 2-strike count. Have to imagine that Harris, the 2-hole hitter, going to get something similar right here. Just have to ensure that you put something a little bit lower in the zone. That last one to Metz hung up just a little bit too high, allowed the big first baseman to really barrel that baseball up. It's a good approach there as well to try and elevate the fastball, change the eye level for Harris, but that one not nearly high enough. The Tigers' second year all over it.
Grimes goes with the breaking ball. Pitkin has to slide over to get it. Would be a great time for Colt's first base hit of the series. Instead, he will get hit and load the bases for the Tigers for Ezra Gore, who can certainly change this game in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Brian, absolutely right about that. I didn't assume that Trinity would have the opportunity to take the lead in this ball game in just the second inning. I think both of us felt confident that they'd be able to get back into this one. It's been a great effort here in the second inning. No one trying to do too much to this point, but you can put one swing on the bat, potentially take the lead.
It won't happen on this one. A tough play for Schwartz with the wind howling in the infield, but the infield fly rule in effect. Gore pops up too short on just one pitch, so major disaster avoided for now by Grimes, but still in lots of danger, especially when you have the home run hitter, Nathan Brolick, coming up to bat.
Yeah, and all of these guys going up to the plate, you can ask them before they step foot into the box what they're trying to do, what pitch they're trying to hit, and they each have something very specific.
Brolick also first pitch swinging, a acrobatic jumping throw deep into the infield, maybe even into the outfield a little bit. Herrera getting it to Shores, and the Celts get out of this inning with limited damage, just 2 runs on the board, but the Tigers do continue to get back into this game. As you get a look at this replay, could have gotten into center field, easily pulled the Tigers to within 1. Instead, St. Thomas still ahead by 3 as we head to the top of the 3rd. You can see the importance of what Harrison DeRoe is doing on the mound, keeping St. Thomas right where they're at. It's giving his offense a chance to climb back into this one, and it continues to get closer. St. Thomas from 7-0 to 7-4 as we arrive at the 3rd inning. Jacob Carrier trying to get things going for the Celts after they scored 7 in the first frame, but they then went 1-2-3 in the second, as DeRoe has racked up 4 Ks already. Breaking ball sent up the middle for a base hit. Carrier, one of the few Celts who's been able to wait back on the curveball, and it results in a hit.
Yeah, not a bad pitch from DeRoe right there. That one a little bit in between that ball, that breaking ball that he's been able to drop into the strike zone, and the one that he's buried in the dirt. That one looked like it would have finished a little bit underneath the zone. So a good job from Carrier, waiting back, recognizing that it was a breaking ball, and then going out, putting the barrel of the bat out in front and able to drive that one up the middle.
Galvan hit by the first pitch from DeRoe, and the Celts trying to respond right back to the Tigers. They put runners on first and second to start things off in the 3rd. And another thing you can start to see creeping up, not just the Tigers, but the shadows. The sun's still in full effect, but the shadows making their way onto the field slowly but surely. First pitch of the doubleheader was back at 2 p.m. We find ourselves nearly at the 7 p.m. hour. DeRoe steps off ahead of his at-bat with Herrera. Herrera shows bunt, pulls it back as that pitch is outside. But it looks like St. Thomas electing to try to move the runners over and grow their lead to maybe 4 or 5.
interesting to see if they stick with that approach right here.
Herrera pops up the bunt and Pettit pounces on it. Makes the catch for out number 1.
And it was interesting to see that they stuck with that approach right there with the frequency with which Duro has thrown that breaking ball. He's been able to locate it in the strike zone, and it makes the job on the hitter that much more difficult trying to lay down that breaking ball that has that 12-6 action on it, a ton of vertical break. Really hard to get on top of the baseball, and Herrera was unable to do so there. So you're not able to get a job done, and you have 1 out on the board now. So Duro just a ground ball in the infield away from getting out of this inning after the Celts were able to get runners on first and second.
Runners off with the pitch, and the ball is sent right to where Harris vacated. You can see why the Celts send their runners the way they do. It results in an RBI single for Knight Newcomb. And the Celts dug out back to their chanting. 8-4 the lead now for St. Thomas.
Yeah, not a bad pitch from Duro right there. Looked like this one got in on the hands of Newcomb a little bit. But as you mentioned, Brian, just put in the perfect spot. That vacated area that Harris had just left over there at second base. So a really nice job on that hit and run from the Celts, and a nice job of coming back here in the top of the third to scratch a run across, try and keep this lead right where it's at.
If you look up hit and run in the dictionary, a video of that play will likely end up there. And I say video because dictionaries are online now, of course. Nobody has a physical dictionary. But that is exactly the way you draw up a hit and run. You see the runner taking off. So the runners at first and second taking off. So the second baseman covers and the hit goes right to where the second baseman would have been. Schwartz showing bunt with the runners at the corners now. As St. Thomas continues to try to add to their lead and do it in their non-traditional ways. Talked a lot about it in Game 1 yesterday, but Coach Wood explaining that the reason they love stealing so many bases is it puts pressure on the defense and it takes pressure off the offense to not have to get a base hit. And here goes another runner. He is caught out to dry. Newcomb nowhere to go, caught in a pickle, but in the meantime, Galvan will come in from third. Don't know exactly what the call was there. Could have been a hit and run that wasn't picked up by the hitter, or it could have been exactly that, cause a distraction at second and allow the runner to come in from third. Either way, run number 9 in for St. Thomas.
Yeah, really interesting play right there. We had seen earlier this season as Duro able to blow that fastball right past the hitter in Bearden. But an interesting play on the base pass. We had seen earlier this year teams opting to throw through against Trinity in those first and third situations, allowing the Tigers to score that runner from the corner. Bit of an odd play right there. We saw Tanner Haney, that angle, that camera work in the dugout, providing a good angle where he looked over to that runner at third base, but it seemed like as soon as he looked back and put his attention on that runner between first and second, that runner at third took off. And those Tiger defenders in the infield just didn't pay him any attention after that.
So the hole the Tigers are in dug a little deeper. St. Thomas gets a couple back and now up 5. Once again, a quick break on Tiger Network before the bottom of the third. First pitch misses low to Brian Schaub. And Cole Grimes back with a 5-run lead to work with. Gets a strike in there on number 42, who's 0 for 1 so far in this game. But he's not 0 for 1 anymore. Schaub wallops that one to left. And another home run for Brian Schaub.
Yeah, and we saw that camera switch out to left field quickly. We saw the left fielder out there for the Celts. Garza didn't even turn to look at that one go. He was set in his tracks out there in the outfield. Another no-doubter off the bat of Brian Schaub. Arguably as far as the one he hit in the game last night, rivaling Nathan Brolick for the farthest, deepest home run hit in this game. And again, the third consecutive inning, the Tigers able to scratch a run across as Christian Holloway steps in, continues to swing the bat.
Now I'm a little worried about my car. That one might have gotten it.
Could have gotten both of our cars in this game, Brian. I don't think that's something that either of us would have ever guessed.
That would be quite the chain of events if the Brolick and Schaub home runs hit both of our cars. But what can you say? This Tiger offense just blasting it all over San Antonio. The ones that have to look out next, the attendees of the Fiesta Flambeau Parade. It's about to kick off in about 12 minutes, and it's, I know, right down on Broadway. But Broadway's not very far from campus, and the way these Tigers are swinging the bat, they have to be on the lookout. So it's not just the beads being thrown from the floats, but it might be a baseball coming from the bats of these Tigers.
Oh, and I know all too well, Brian, about getting hit by a baseball, so don't wish that upon anyone trying to enjoy Fiesta season here in San Antonio. But I think you're absolutely right, a hazard that everyone here, especially on the campus of Trinity University, needs to be aware of.
Certainly someone who has the experience, unfortunately, of course, is Holloway sends it foul, and it looks like the first baseman, Galvan, actually overran that one, landed in play. But that reminds me, Luke, you brought that up in a broadcast earlier, and I don't believe you ever truly explained what happened. So would you care to explain? And it with the guy on the mound for the Tigers, maybe it is the right time to talk about it.
Yeah, so I mean, what a freak accident that was. Just trying to enjoy my spring break, getting ready to call some baseball action here on Tiger Network as Christian Holloway fights to stay alive in this full count. You know, I got here when I usually do, went over to the dugout to watch some guys hit in the cage, the bullpen, to watch some guys hit. Just a little sliver that's unprotected between that batting cage and the bullpen on the right side out there. You know, there's that brick wall that protects the entrance, but there's just a little bit of a gap between that brick wall, not extending all the way over to the netting out there. And I was, of course, standing in the one unprotected spot. So I think that one probably goes on me. You know, a pitch just slips out of the hand of a guy warming up on the mound and clocks me in the side of the head. So, you know, I think I've talked to you a little bit about it, but the funniest aspect of that entire situation was the fact that I had no idea what had happened. I was not at all aware that I had just been hit in the head by a baseball. It wasn't until Corey Cater, standing over me at 6'5", asked me, "Are you okay?" that I really started to put things together. And when I realized that it wasn't just Corey Cater, it was pretty much everyone in the bullpen that was looking my way. I figured it all out.
I'm sure that was a very jarring moment for you, very scary. I remember I was behind the batting cage at home plate on the field, so you were in the bullpen, and the entire team freaked out, asked for a trainer right away. Very scary situation, but we are all very glad you're okay and here to tell that story.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back on the broadcast, although I know we were walking together in one of those first games back when it almost happened again. Ball just skied in the air off the bat, and pregame in and out almost came down on me. And I had to ask you, Brian, how far away from me it was. It was hard to believe that it landed where it did, as close to me as it did that day.
I certainly won't be walking next to you by a baseball field anytime soon, but we can still call games together.
Yeah, we're safe here inside the Bell Center in Trinity University.
Quite safe. Don't think a baseball will be reaching us in here. More likely that a volleyball is spiked into here. Definitely a dangerous place to be. And the Trinity bats a dangerous set throughout this lineup. Vonderhaar looks at a 3-0 pitch right there for strike one. So Grimes has bounced back nicely from that Schaub home run. Pitkin pounding the dirt, trying to make Vonderhaar think it'll go down there. Instead, a ball inside. A walk now for Vonderhaar.
And a good at-bat from Vonderhaar right there. Never picked up the bat off his shoulder, but didn't have any need to. Not trying to force the issue, just trying to start some sort of a two-out rally. Perfect guy up at the plate to do so. Tanner Haney singled down the right field line in his first plate appearance. Worked a really nice at-bat after falling behind early on. Opportunity here for the Tigers to again turn things over to the top of the order with runners on base.
Haney turns on that one. Well, foul. But Haney doing a phenomenal job of taking the ball where it came from on his last at-bat. A fastball that was well out of the zone, both high and away. But that's no problem for Haney, who managed to get the bat on the baseball and into right field. He drove in a run with that base hit. It shows his ability with that bat to control where it goes. A check on the runner at first, a close play at the bag, but Vonderhaar in there safely. But Haney, with that last foul ball that he pulled, just showing that he's willing to take the ball where it is thrown. A great quality as a hitter.
Yeah, Haney, someone in this lineup that struggled early on this season, was prone to striking out in the first part of this campaign before SCAC play started, but has really figured things out in the batter's box. His hands have been much, much better up there at the plate. Doing a nice job of keeping his hands inside as Pitkin checks down on Vonderhaar over there at first base. Real close play over there, but Vonderhaar able to get his foot back onto the bag quickly.
Between Pitkin and Pettit, a combo that really likes to throw behind the runners on the base paths. The 3-1 in there to make it 3-2 now on Haney. This time Vonderhaar will be off and running with the pitch. The 3-2 with 2 outs in the third. Already a run home on the Brian Schaub homer. Tigers continue to score in every inning. 2 in the first, 2 in the second, 1 in the third. I'm sure Tanner would love to make it 2. Instead, he'll draw a walk and keep things going for MJ Metz up to bat next.
Yeah, just another really good at-bat from Tanner Haney right there. A couple of really nice at-bats in a row. Just the patience that's being illustrated at the plate from the guys in the bottom half of the order. Bottom half of the order is exactly what you need. Get on base by any means necessary and let the leadoff hitter today try and drive you in, something that he did incredibly well in game 1, going 4 for 5.
That one is tagged, and MJ Metz with the foul ball. He keeps rounding the bases.
I think you're right there, Brian. Incredibly difficult to tell exactly what happened. It sounded like the Trinity dugout was the dugout that was upset. It looked from the angle that we have right here that the hands of the home plate umpire went up as he watched that one down the line. But maybe we were mistaken. Maybe we're hearing St. Thomas on the other side of the field.
Certainly some confusion there, but a mistake I'll gladly make. It turns out to be a 3-run homer for MJ Metz, and just like that, St. Thomas, their lead down to 1. Could have sworn I saw the hands go up on the umpire, but maybe it was just a violent right arm going up to signal a fair ball. We'll have to get a look at that one when we get the chance.
But that's why it's so important that those guys in Vonderhaar and Haney were able to reach base safely right there. We saw Metz leave the yard once already today. In game 1, he went 4 for 5. He drove 4 runs in. He does the same here this evening. That 3-run shot, emphasis on 3-run home run right there. He hits that 4 RBI mark for a second game in a row.
Up to 9 runs batted in on the day as a whole. And if he was in any sort of slump coming into this one, he is well out of it. MJ Metz putting this offense on his back. And Colt Harris now at the plate. Suddenly the tying run. He waits here as a ball in the dirt hits the catcher Pitkin, so the umpire making a little bit of time here.
Yeah, and Pitkin has worked incredibly hard behind the plate all day long. I know we talked a little bit in the open about the surprise it was to see his name in the lineup for the second action of the doubleheader. He worked incredibly hard in game 1, blocking the baseball. Things haven't gotten much easier for him here in this one.
Three-two pitch, a little high to Harris, and he'll reach first on a walk. And Harris, the tying run now on base with Ezra Gore, symbolizing the go-ahead run, but he will not face Grimes as the right arm of Coach Wood goes up, signaling a trip to the bullpen. So Grimes, with his hands on his hips, will hand the ball to Coach Wood, and we'll take a quick break on Tiger Network with the Tigers right back in it. Ezra Gore at the plate facing a new pitcher for the Celts. It is Miles Simmons on the mound now. And a first pitch ball to Ezra. Gore ahead on the count 1-0. And Gore will be hit with the pitch from Simmons. Harris now will be the tying run in scoring position.
You look at the line score of this one. Again, the Tigers able to scratch across some runs, but go back to that home run off the bat of MJ Metz.
Yeah, we're looking at the home plate umpire who you see put both his hands up, seemingly saying foul ball in my book. But again, a good mistake for the Tigers as it ended up being a 3-run homer.
That contributes to that 4 spot that the Tigers have put up in the bottom of the 3rd inning here. So continuing the trend of scratching runs across in consecutive innings. It's been all 3 here to start this one, but perhaps more importantly, those 3 runs coming with 2 outs on the board this inning. There's a couple of nice walks with 2 outs on the board already by Vonderhaar and Haney that set Metz up for that awesome opportunity.
Even on the foul balls, Brolick shows what good of a swing he has right now. Just seemingly everything that touches his bat is being hit well. He chops this one to the right side, and it's going to be an incredible play made on the right side of the infield. The pitcher, Simmons, covering and laying it all out to cover the bag. 2 runners are stranded, but Miles Simmons showing that pitchers are in fact athletes. But a visit to the umpire being made now by head coach Tim Scannell, maybe wanting to see exactly what happened on there. So we'll take a break on Tiger Network as it gets sorted out. It looks like a quick conversation as Scannell's already headed back to the dugout. But now a replay for you. Brolick grounding it over to the right side.
Yeah, not sure if that one was mishandled in any capacity over there at first base. It's Galvan for the Celts. That throw came on time. But as you mentioned, just a great job from Simmons right there, putting his body on the line on a little bit of an awkward play. Awkward exchange between first baseman and pitcher, but looked like he was able to secure that ball. And then as he was falling down, I assume his feet hit first base and they were able to record that final out.
We'll take a break on Tiger Network. And it's a whole new ball game. St. Thomas up just 1. Leadoff hitter Bearden takes a ball 1 from Harrison DeRoe. And the Celts have to feel nervous about their lead down to just 1. DeRoe gave up a couple of runs in the 3rd. But the Celts are going to need a whole lot more than 9. I would be willing to bet that they will not win this game with just 9 runs. They might win the game, but I don't think this is going to be the final score.
I'd certainly agree with you there, Brian. They did a good job at the top of the 3rd inning, scratching back a couple after the Tigers scored 2 in both the 1st and 2nd, but going to be difficult to match what Trinity has done. Certainly going to need some more insurance, but they're going to need to find a way to blank the Tigers in this line score in at least a couple of innings, try and stop the momentum that Trinity has had with the bat in their hands to this point.
This game is looking a lot more like Game 3 of the series between St. Thomas and Trinity a year ago. That series taking place on the campus of Houston Baptist. And it reminds a lot of Tiger fans, if they were watching, of Harrison Durow being on the mound in the 9th inning of that game. Trinity up 13-12, and the Celts had the bases loaded with 2 outs, and it was Harrison Durow, a freshman at the time, coming up with the big strikeout to earn the sweep for the Tigers. Here he gets another breaking ball. You see how fired up Harrison is. But talk to Harrison about that moment earlier this week, if he recalls it, and he definitely does. And I asked him if he was hyped up for it, if he was nervous as a first-year pitcher on the mound in such a big moment. And he said for whatever reason, he was actually quite calm at the time. He even remembers telling his parents, who were asking him, wow, what a moment. Were you super excited, nervous to be there? And he just didn't know why, but he wasn't. He felt calm, cool, and collected. And I think it goes to show the type of confidence he has in his stuff. He knows what he can do. He knows he can get hitters out. And it showed up last year, and it's showing up as of late this year for sure.
And you have to imagine that being placed in situations, scenarios like those as a freshman really impact the type of success you have. High pressure scenarios certainly pay off in the long run. Did a nice job coming into this one. Trinity having given up 7 runs in that first inning, but he's really quieted the storm and given the Tigers an opportunity to sweep St. Thomas here in San Antonio after what looked to be a really, really rough start.
And it's really a very fitting juxtaposition for Harrison Durow to be in this spot, as he readies the 2-2 to Madden, and another beautiful breaking ball, and another vivid reaction for Durow, that strikeout number 7. But Durow, earlier this year when he was getting some starts early in the season, was the starting pitcher in the game against McMurray. When McMurray scored 6 runs in the first inning, Harrison just going a third of an inning, just getting 1 out in that game. Ever since then, Durow has been coming out of the bullpen. And so now for him to be here nearly a month after that game, being the one to be called upon to stop the bleeding out of the bullpen and doing such a good job really shows how far Harrison has come this year.
Yeah, and I think it's something that so many of these young pitchers in the rotation are capable of. A lot of guys came in, a really strong class that stepped foot on campus in the campaign last year. You have Durow, you have Shavana, a couple of guys that we've seen throw incredibly well this year in the way that they've been used in different roles. Both of them coming out of the bullpen, both of them starting on the mound for the Tigers. Just goes to show the versatility that they have and how one of those experiences as a starter can impact how you come into a game as a reliever and vice versa.
Seems like Harrison has learned all the right lessons from the struggles he had early in the year, and he's used them for the best to improve. And before giving up a couple of runs in the last inning, he had gone more than 9 innings without allowing a run. Still, though, just a couple, and keeping St. Thomas at bay, and Pitkin having to stay in the batter's box. Durow with a couple of high fastballs to the catcher, who didn't love that call. We get a look at the replay. Right on the corner to my eye. Don't see anything wrong with that one. And Durow comes back with a breaking ball that gets Pitkin looking. Harrison Durow strikes out the side, and the momentum clearly in the direction of Trinity. That one a no-doubter, and you can see the energy from Durow. This one, a great one from San Antonio. We are excited to see what happens next. The bottom of the 4th on the way with St. Thomas with a 1-run lead.
fourth inning, leading off for the Tigers, the left fielder, number 42, Brian Shaw.
Brian Schaub already with 1 home run on the day. Another would tie things up. But the Tigers just hoping to keep their momentum going. Maybe get a base runner here or there, drive in some runs. Pitch misses low to Schaub. If you tuned in to this one late, you would have missed St. Thomas jumping out to a 7-0 lead. They got Sammy Conti, the starting pitcher, out of the game without recording an out. Jonathan Newman then didn't get an out. But since then, it has been Harrison DeRoe, 4 innings with just 2 runs allowed. And it's allowed the Trinity offense to come nearly all the way back as Schaub looks at a breaking ball for a strike. But we knew it wouldn't be long for this Tiger offense.
Yeah, we knew it wouldn't be long, but I didn't expect it to happen this quickly. And again, Tigers have an opportunity right now to at least draw even in this one. It's been 3 consecutive innings to start the game that they've scored.
Schaub muscles this one to center field. Coming in to make the catch is Bearden. So that one got in on the hands of Schaub just enough for Bearden to come in and make the catch. You see Simmons going inside. Schaub trying to pull his hands in. But instead, out number 1, and now Christian Holloway with 1 out, nobody on. First pitch looks like a changeup to Holloway in there for a strike. Now the breaking ball misses high.
Simmons doing a nice job right here, utilizing that breaking ball after in the last half inning we saw Harrison DeRoe get out of it with a couple of breaking balls that hung up in the zone.
This breaking ball hangs up in the zone for Holloway, who again hits the ball the other way and ends up at second with a double. He's able to wait back on that pitch and sends it nearly out of here. Instead, it bounces all the way to the wall as the center fielder Bearden cuts it off just ahead of it. And Trinity, a base hit away from tying things up in the 4th. It'll be up to Tyler Pettit. Pettit followed up Holloway's hit their last time to the plate with a single himself. Pitch outside, called a strike. Simmons ahead 0-1. Simmons, the junior from Manville, Texas. He came in to pitch 2 innings and gave up 2 runs against Texas Lutheran, giving up a home run to the Bulldogs. TLU and Trinity, 2 very similar teams that like to hit the home run. And we've seen it on full display here today. Schaub and MJ Metz with the home runs in Game 2. We saw Vonderhaar and Schaub with the homers in Game 1. Ball gets away from the catcher, but not far enough for Holloway to move over. The 1-2 on the way to Pettit. Pettit not willing to chase that one outside. Pettit just kind of loops it to the opposite field, and that's going to get down for a base hit. Holloway on his way home, and he's going to be safe. This ball game is tied at 9.
Yeah, not a bad pitch at all from Simmons right there. Tyler Pettit just doing a better job with the bat in his hands. Going down to put the barrel on the baseball. Another one of his patented one-handed swings. Really purposeful hit right there from Pettit. Previously this season, we've seen this offense really drive through the baseball in situations like that and send it directly at the outfielders. But Pettit, that one-handed swing paying dividends right there. As that backhand comes off and he just drops it in front of Carrier out there and right.
So we talk about Holloway being able to send the ball the other way, but Pettit, we love his one-handed swing, but it really is just evidence of how he takes the ball to wherever it's pitched as well, just like Holloway. And Pettit showing his speed now with the stolen base with Vonderhaar at the plate. So the catcher doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and Pettit's someone that we see run from time to time. But I think one of the things that he does best when he's on the base path is read pitches out of the pitcher's hands. Does a nice job identifying that breaking ball right there. Pitkin doing a nice job behind the plate of blocking it, keeping it in front of him as that breaking ball misses a little bit shorter and off the top of Vonderhaar's foot. So now runners on first and second for the Tigers after having tied things up at 9. The great opportunity here to take the lead. Some more success here for the bottom part of the order. Holloway starting things off. Pettit driving him in. Vonderhaar reaching base safely right there on that hit by pitch. And now Haney, 1 for 1 with a nice walk in his last at bat, again has the opportunity to turn things over.
Vonderhaar getting hit for the second time today. Had a hit by pitch in game 1. So something about the Tigers today that has really just been a magnet for the hit by pitches. Now up to 8 total. Pitkin slides over to make that block. But Haney will be ahead in the count. Make it 9 hit by pitches. 6 in game 1, 3 in game 2. So a painful afternoon for the Tigers, but it could all be relieved if they could pull off the sweep. Haney nearly victim number 10, but he ducks down for ball 2. You might remember the Tigers' record when scoring double-digit runs, so if they're going to win this one, they're going to have to get to double digits, and it's a good place to be. We'll see if Haney can get them there. He swings past a fastball, just getting a little tip of it. 2-2 the count to the shortstop. Pettit takes his lead off of second. Simmons with the pitch. Swung on and missed by Haney. No foul tip. It just nicked off the glove of the catcher Pitkin. So Haney will head back to the dugout. And we'll bring up MJ Metz with the 2-out RBI opportunity. And we have taken several looks at MJ Metz's home run. And we still are not quite sure what happened. The home plate umpire did signal foul ball initially, and there was a roar from the Tiger dugout. But as Metz rounded the bases, there must have been a correction. We're not right out there at the field to tell you exactly what occurred, but we are eager to find out and hear the replay to show you what we're talking about. So take a look at the home plate umpire. He first puts up his right arm to signal home run, but then he puts both arms up saying foul ball, and you can look to your left now. You see him saying foul ball. The Tiger dugout was upset, and then after telling the runners to go back to their bases, he suddenly does the home run signal. So have to wonder what changed. Luke and I, we were both surprised that Coach David Wood didn't come out to argue anything, unless it must have been super clear to both sides that it was a home run. But it makes me feel like I was not crazy to say it was a foul ball.
No, absolutely. I think both of us based on that immediate reaction, based on the camera angles that we were seeing here inside the Bell Center, that was the more logical call. Obviously, both of those hands going up. You could see on those last replays that it was Trinity's dugout that was reacting so vehemently. Looked like a bunch of guys jumped up simultaneously, those yells coming from the dugout. Everything pointed to that being a foul ball off the bat of MJ Metz.
But either way, it does end up being a 3-run home run that got the Tigers to within 1 at the time. And when you look at the score, 13-3 victory in Game 1 for the Tigers, and now 9-9 in the fourth of this one. Out of 22 runs that the Tigers have scored, 9 of them have been driven in by MJ Metz. Just a spectacular afternoon for the first baseman. And he'll try to do more damage against the new pitcher here for the Celts, Cameron Craig. Comes in to pitch. He comes in for Miles Simmons, who did a nice job in an inning, gave up 2 hits and a run, but he does leave 2 runners on base that are his responsibility. Craig, the sophomore from West Columbia, Texas, threw an inning and gave up no runs against Our Lady of the Lake on March 29th.
And yet again, a pitcher comes into the game out of this Celts rotation with a pretty low number of innings pitched on the year, just 4 for Craig to this point. Another common theme is that the fact that the number of hits, more often than not, has exceeded the number of innings pitched for the guys in this rotation. For Craig, only a couple of strikeouts on the year, just 3 to this point. He's kept the number of walks down, only 8 in those 4 innings that he has pitched. So have to assume that he's induced contact in the games and the appearances that he has made.
It's a tough ask of anyone to come in from the bullpen and face a scorching hot MJ Metz at the plate. Made a little bit more difficult by a pitch that looked to be a strike, and Craig certainly thought so, but it's a ball. So Metz gets ahead 1-0. Another close pitch, but Metz will be in command with a 2-0 count. And MJ, if you're listening, next time you hit a home run, just make it a little easier for all of us to know that it's a home run. I mean, you've got 2 runners on here. You can do it again. Just do it all over again, and we could have a cleaner scenario for everyone involved. Craig really testing it with the hanging breaking ball, but it's outside enough for Metz to lay off of it and let it land for a strike. But the Southern California native has the opportunity to give the Tigers their first lead of the game. A fastball right down the middle from Craig. Metz couldn't get his bat off his shoulders, so the 2-2 count now. 2 runners on.
Metz takes a little bit of a longer break in between those pitches. That fastball being right down the middle. For so many guys, so many hitters, it's exactly the pitch that you want to see.
Metz makes contact with this one towards the right side. Charging in is the right fielder. He's not going to make the catch. Jacob Carrier lays out but misses the ball. Pettit comes across to score, and the Tigers have the lead.
Yeah, and after seeing a ball middle, this one a little bit more on the hands of Metz, but he does just enough to put that one in play out to right field. Tough ball at this time of the day. We've talked about the shadows already. That sun setting right in the eyes of the right fielder, Carrier. Made that one an incredibly tough play.
So the Tigers have come all the way back from down 7-0 in the first inning to take a 10-9 lead. It is still just the bottom of the 4th inning, so all the runs that any team could get, very valuable, and there's 2 more out there for Colt Harris. Harris grounds this one to short, a little stumble out of the box. Runs to first, but not in time to beat the throw from Schwartz. But the Tigers score 2 runs in the bottom of the 4th, and they take their first lead of the evening. 10-9 Trinity on Tiger Network as we head to the top of the 5th. Harrison DeRoe on the mound now with a lead for the first time. He starts things off with a breaking ball to Garza. Someone to be careful with. We've already seen him with 2 homers today. Curveball again. This one fouled off the foot of Garza. Garza making an immediate impact since he came in to pinch hit in Game 1 of the doubleheader. He is a junior from Houston, Texas, and a transfer, you guessed it, from El Paso Community College. But really something to the fact that there's so many transfers in this young program. Coach Wood telling me that it's certainly harder to coach a team full of transfers than it is to coach a team full of high school players. Because when you're coming straight out of high school, you know nothing else. You know no other program. As Garza grounds this one to third, Holloway makes the long throw to Metz for the first out. But Coach Wood saying high school players are a lot more coachable. They don't know anything better or anything different going to college. But when you've got a bunch of players who played at other universities, they've gotten used to a program, gotten used to coaching. And so for them to come and buy into the program is not easy. But Coach Wood feels that his team has done a good job buying into what he's preaching. And they find themselves in 3rd place of the SCAC, with a 5-6 record now after the 2 losses to Trinity, but firmly in the race for a tournament spot. Carrier knocks it the other way. It'll go foul.
Brian, you use the term firmly in the race. Certainly going to be a tougher task after this weekend, having dropped games 1 and 2. And Trinity with all the momentum right now in this one. DeRoe ahead in the count, 0-2 right here. Opportunity to throw whatever he wants. This is just a little outside with that fastball, but you look around the rest of the SCAC. We highlighted some of the Game 1s that concluded during our own Game 1. Another number of scores around the league. Centenary and the University of Dallas playing Game 2 of their doubleheader, a much closer one after Centenary took the first 14-5. They lead 2-1 right now in the bottom of the 9th. couple other game twos that have gone final as Carrier sends that one to the left side of the infield. Nice job from Metz right there on a ball that was a little bit in between, not necessarily a pick over there, but a good job to secure that one so close to the ground for the second out. Game between Texas Lutheran and Austin College, game 2 of their doubleheader, went the way of the Bulldogs by a score of 11-3. Game 2 between Schreiner and Southwestern. Even though the Mountaineers started hot in that one, scoring the first 4 runs of the game, Southwestern has really come alive after their comeback last night. They won that one 15-5, and on the day put up 33 runs. So we talked a lot about Southwestern and the Pirates' rough start to their SCAC schedule on the broadcast. A couple of consecutive series against Trinity, then having to play Texas Lutheran. Things starting to ease up for them a little bit right now, and they're getting into the groove that I think a lot of people expected them to be on this season.
And it sets them up to have a fantastic series next weekend as the Pirates travel to Houston and face the St. Thomas Celts. But for St. Thomas, they're hoping to go home with a victory. Galvan swinging 3-0. And he flies it to right field. Jack Vonderhaar underneath it. And Harrison DeRoe with exactly what you need after your team takes the lead. A shutdown inning. 1-2-3 go the Celts. And the Tigers ahead in this one as we're halfway home from San Antonio. Cameron Craig came in last inning, and he remains on the mound here in the bottom of the 5th. We'll have to go through 3, 4, and 5 in the Tiger order, starting with Ezra Gore. Ezra Gore slashes that one foul, and you know, now that I think about it, with the Tigers down 7-0, Ezra probably felt right in his element. Seeing a touchdown on the board, said, we've got this. Just a touchdown and a field goal finds the Tigers up 10-9 over St. Thomas now.
You would think that he would find that territory familiar, but I'm not so sure you're right, Brian, with the amount of success that the Trinity football team had this fall. Not a whole lot of games that we called and saw that team fall behind early on.
That's a fair point. Can't ignore the success that the football team had in the fall, going to the playoffs and falling just short against the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor, which I know Ezra would love to correct on Tuesday as the Tigers host the Crusaders right here at the baseball field.
And you have to wonder if there's anyone on that baseball roster that does what Ezra Gore's doing right now and showing out both on the gridiron and on the baseball diamond.
We'll have to take a look right here. Ezra Gore grounds it to third, and he's thrown out at first. We know it'll be an interesting matchup between Mary Hardin-Baylor and Trinity. It always is, no matter the sport. I know plenty of folks at Trinity want some revenge on Mary Hardin-Baylor. They also knocked out our men's basketball team from the NCAA tournament, knocked out the football team. So it'll be nice to have them at our place on Tuesday.
Absolutely, and I know they squared off just a couple of weeks ago up in Belton. Tigers getting the short end of the stick in that one, falling just short. That was before they've gone on this crazy run, having won 9 straight games and swinging the bats incredibly hot.
And few people swinging it better than Nathan Brolick. Another base hit for the San Antonio native. He's now 2 for 4 in game 2. And he had that big home run to right field earlier that left us all speechless. That loss to Mary Hardin-Baylor that you bring up, Luke, was a midweek loss that was followed up by the 10-0 loss to Centenary as Schaub turns around to take one in the back. Hit by pitch number 10 throughout this doubleheader now for Trinity. Painful, painful, painful. But speaking of 10, that 10-0 loss to Centenary, what really sparked this run for the Tigers, now 9 wins in a row since that loss in Shreveport.
And you've talked about that one a ton. A lot of different reactions that a team can have to a performance, to a loss like that one. But the leadership and the players themselves stepping up, it's really paid off for them here. And they turned things around immediately. They didn't wait to get back home. They didn't wait to look at who was next in the conference schedule. They made the adjustments on the road in Shreveport after making that long drive. They were far from home, but it didn't matter. They have the guys on this roster after they lost a number of fifth-year players from last season's campaign, guys that were long-time staples in starting lineups. As Craig misses down with that breaking ball, and Pitkin keeps it in front to keep runners at first and second. A lot of turnover from last year's team, a lot of guys that we saw starting defensively, starting with the bat in their hands, guys that had been honored multiple times by the conference. It hasn't mattered. This season, the Tigers have turned around as that one gets away over there at first base under the glove of Galvan. It's going to allow Schaub to come all the way around and score. Brolick looked like he was tagged out on the base paths. It was either Schwartz or Newcomb over there in that third base area that tagged Brolick on the base paths, trying to turn the double play. That throw getting away from Galvan and allowing Schaub to come all the way around to score, but discussion's going to happen right here.
Looks like Schaub might be brought back out to third. So it was a hopper from Holloway over to third. Newcomb makes a nice play to jump up in the air, tag Brolick in the base pass, and then tried to throw on to first for the double play. The ball gets away from Galvan and goes all the way towards the visiting bullpen. Holloway advanced to second. You see Schaub coming all the way around to score.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of a discrepancy right there. Brolick believing that he was safe, but might have gone out of the base paths on that one right there.
So it looks like the ball actually went underneath the tarp over there that's by the bullpen. And so that explains why Schaub has been called back from the plate to third base. So runners at second and third, and the runner at second, actually a pinch runner, Ty Preston, now in the ball game, coming in to run for Christian Holloway. Craig with a pitch outside to Pettit, and the catcher Pitkin wanting to have a chat with his pitcher. The clock reading 7:43 here in San Antonio, and the sun still in the sky a little bit, but not on the field at all, fully underneath the shadows now at the ballpark. It's been a great long day of baseball, opening day weekend across the major leagues, and we've been in full swing now, officially past the halfway point in conference play. Hard to believe, but already mid-April, and the SCAC tournament will be here before we know it. Trinity and TLU seemingly will be there. Who will join them is the big question. St. Thomas trying to be one of those teams in Cleburne. Craig, the 3-0 to Pettit. He has the green light, and you see why. A base hit to right. 1 run scores. A second coming on its way. He is thrown out, though, at home. Ty Preston, newly in the ball game, precisely 2 run. But he is nailed at the plate from the throw by Carrier. And a good cutoff there. Looks like Galvan at first stepped in to cut the throw off, make the relay home. But a run does score for Trinity, so they keep their streak alive. They've scored in all 5 innings so far. 11-9 is the lead for the Tigers as we head to the top of the 6th. A play at the plate ended things in the bottom of the 5th, but the Tigers got 1 across to increase their lead to 11-9. Brandon Herrera will look to get things going for the Celts here in the 6th. Herrera already with a base hit and a run batted in. The junior from right here in San Antonio, Antonian College Prep, the same high school that Nathan Brolick and Jack Wisniewski attended. So a little homecoming for Herrera here in San Antonio. Herrera fouls it the other way. Still ahead in the count, 2-1. Giroux in his 6th inning of work. He didn't start the game, but he has certainly bridged the gap. And he gets a swing and a miss. Giroux just 2 hits allowed with 8 strikeouts so far today. The pitch count still at a very reasonable 73.
I you can look to that line score as well, Brian. Obviously 9 runs up on the board for St. Thomas. Game 2 of this doubleheader, but Dureau with another strikeout there, giving himself 9 on the evening. Has done a great job keeping this lineup in check for a 3rd time this series. 5 hits on the day. Doesn't exactly mirror those 9 runs. Big reason that number has ballooned is because of those 4 errors that the defense made, but all of those coming way back in the 1st inning.
Newcomb not going to wait to strike out. Instead swings at the first pitch, but it's still an out as the catch is made in the shallow outfield. 2 quick outs in the 6th inning. A theme we've talked about throughout the season and throughout the year really on Tiger Network is how impressive it is that these players on the field are ultimately students first. Hence the term student athlete, with the student ahead of athlete. And Harrison Dureau in one of my classes, Sport Philanthropy, with Dr. Jacob Tingle, and I bring this up because Dr. Tingle tweeted at us that he was watching the game on Tiger Network, but now he's at the ballpark with his son, so he won't be listening to this, but in that class we're supposed to tweet hashtag TU SportsPhil during and after every class. And so Harrison Dureau, with his performance today, he could put a hashtag TU SportsPhil on it and really complete things just for Dr. Tingle since he's at the ball game. Harrison, not the only baseball player in that class. Jack Peterson, also in Sport Philanthropy, and Mike Lustina, the first year. So after they dominate on the field, they dominate in the classroom as well. And Harrison, one of many examples at Trinity of the impressive performances at their sport and then at whatever they decide to study. Dureau has the 2-2 count here with 2 outs in the 6th, no one on. And the pinch hitter Scharf at the plate, and strikeout number 10 for Dureau. Pettit completes it with the throw to first, but the domination continues. Harrison Dureau, 6 innings, 10 strikeouts. And for emphasis one more time, hashtag TU SportsPhil for Dr. Tingle. We'll be back after the break. With Harrison Dureau shutting the Celts down on the mound, the Tigers have had every opportunity to build their way back into this one. And they have, with their 11-9 lead now, which they look to grow in the bottom of the 6th. First pitch to Vonderhaar. A strike. Didn't quite picture saying a lead to grow when it was 7-0. But we warned you that the Tigers average over 9 runs a game. So as long as they did what they're used to doing, this comeback was possible. Vonderhaar sends this one the other way, and it'll get down and to the wall. He'll coast into second with a double. And Jack Vonderhaar with the signal to the dugout. All smiles for the Tigers.
Yeah, and over the past couple of games, series as a whole, I really have to like the approach that these left-handed hitters have brought up to the plate with them. Nathan Brolick, another one swinging it incredibly well from that side of the plate. His last at-bat, last plate appearance went the other way. Another line drive through the left side of the infield. Something that we've seen from the one lefty mainstay in this lineup, Jack Wisniewski. He's done a tremendous job over the past 2 years using the entire field as Tanner Haney squares around, but bunts that one foul. But it seems like Vonderhaar and Brolick, Wisniewski, the left-handed hitters in this lineup, the batters and the bats that this Tigers team was really waiting on, hoping that they would get going. Saw Vonderhaar homer in this series. He's continuing to swing it really well. The same goes for Brolick. Those things continue to carry forward. You have to like where this Tiger team is headed.
The left-handed hitters have certainly been hitting it the other way with those you mentioned, and then also brings to mind the right-handed hitters. Haney, one of them, who's had a base hit to the opposite field. Pettit, Holloway, some that also come to mind. These hitters work so hard at it. When you're hitting it the other way, it means you're seeing the ball well, you're controlling your hands, driving them through the zone. And there haven't been many opponents that have been able to slow down these Trinity Tigers, especially over the last couple of weeks. Tigers sitting on a 9-game win streak. They'd love to make it 10. Haney doing his part. But right here, a line drive to the worst spot imaginable, right to the second baseman. Haney's had the unfortunate luck a couple of times this season. Very vividly remember a line drive just like that to the second baseman, and this time it's a double play because Herrera was able to just step on the bag and double up Vonderhaar. So Craig, after the leadoff double to Vonderhaar, has a clean bill of health in the bottom of the 6th, no runners on, and 2 outs for MJ Metz at the plate.
And as Metz steps in, you see that banner flash across your screens with all of his stats on the season. That average climbing all the way back up, nearly all the way to that 360 mark. Incredibly impressive, due in large part to the stretch that he's had here today. 4 for 5 in Game 1, stepping into the box now. 3 for 4 in Game 2 of the doubleheader. Talked a little bit about the game he had last night and the struggles that he'd had recently, but the way that he swung it here today, you have to feel like the ship has really been righted.
As the iconic Kelly Clarkson says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. 4 strikeouts last night, not going to stop MJ Metz. He's delivered with 10 runs batted in between the 2 games today. And I know Kelly Clarkson would be proud.
I think she would be too. And it's incredible to look at the context of this performance today. You mentioned those 4 strikeouts last night. The turnaround that he has had to go 0 for 4 in that one. Started today off, again, unfavorably, striking out in his first at-bat, but since then been absolutely electric. Has those 10 RBI and 2 home runs.
A dust storm developing at home plate. It just caused Metz to have to step out to clear his eyes, and you see the dirt flying everywhere. As the skies darken a little bit here, approaching the 8 o'clock hour, the 2-2 count to Mets. Great job laying off of that one. Immediately after mentioning Kelly Clarkson, we've had an objection. So the engagement we've been looking for in the YouTube chat hasn't been there today. So here's your chance. Tell us if you believe that Kelly Clarkson is iconic. I believe the first ever winner of American Idol, who has their own talk show now 20 years later, does qualify as iconic. But you let us know. As Craig strikes out Mets, finally someone gets the first baseman out in this doubleheader. So Trinity will maintain a 2-run lead as we head to the top of the 7th. But don't worry, we won't be since you've been gone. We'll be right back. Harrison DeRoe, as the Trinity Tower rings for the 8 o'clock hour. We'll have the top of the St. Thomas lineup to deal with. Kyle Bearden up at the plate for the 4th time. He is 1 for 3, scored a run, and struck out twice. First pitch, breaking ball inside for a ball. Harrison DeRoe has been waiting for a moment like this.
A little more subtle with that one there, Brian.
Subtle with what?
Nothing. Maybe we'll leave it unspoken as not to influence any bias, any more bias, I suppose we should say, in the YouTube chat.
It's been a big comeback for the Tigers today, but still work to do. 3 innings remaining in this one and still just a 2-run lead. And with the top of the Celt order up, we'll have to keep working hard. DeRoe loses Bearden on a 4-pitch walk. And as we've highlighted throughout, not the guy you want on first base to lead things off.
Yeah, and he did a nice job all the way back in the top of the 1st inning of reaching base after a long at-bat that he battled in. And rather quickly, he made his presence known on the base path, really putting the pressure on the defense. And the same's going to be true here. Do a nice job of pointing out, still just a 2-run ball game. The Tigers have done a nice job coming all the way back to grab that lead after falling behind 7-0, but still a lot of distance to go here in this one. And for St. Thomas, a really great start by getting Bearden on base.
And a visit to the mound. Just Tyler Pettit, the catcher, no coach joining him. Talking to the sophomore pitcher from Dallas, Texas. And you have to believe a little bit of this conversation has to be about what could go on right now between the base runner and the hitter. Dylan Lamb coming in to pinch hit. He did not start this game, but he and Bearden, probably the 2 fastest Celts on the roster. And after the visit from Pettit, now a more formal visit from pitching coach Dave Smith. Looks like that was just to warm the incoming pitcher a little bit, but a fantastic performance from Harrison DeRoe comes to an end here in the 7th inning. He matched a career high in strikeouts with 10, and now he'll be replaced as we take a break on Tiger Network, a good one on our hands on Tiger Network. Look what we have here. Corey Cater answers the call to the bullpen here in the top of the 7th. Corey Cater, of course, the man who has made 6 starts for the Tigers this season, and for the first time in 2022, making an appearance out of the bullpen. And he takes a quick step off to check on the runner Bearden. Probably a smart move. Bearden, 20 stolen bases on the year. Lamb at the plate with 15. And Bearden with a huge lead, but not going anywhere. First pitch strike to Lamb.
Yeah, and this is the first time, as you mentioned, that we've seen Cater out of the bullpen this season, but you have to really like what he brings to that type of role.
And on this one, Bearden took a step towards second, and Cater actually guessed perfectly with the pickoff, but he threw it way over the head of Metz. And so Bearden won't have to work very hard for that. Not technically a stolen base, but the opportunity to take second. So you see, he doesn't even need to steal a base to cause havoc out there. Bearden now at second. Lamb still at the plate. And you see Metz not even hopping to get that one. Now the pitch to Lamb. Another swing and a miss.
Yeah, it's certainly not easy to do, overthrow MJ Metz at first base, 6'5", 6'6", but now a good opportunity for Cater to really focus in on Lamb in the batter's box. Elevates that fastball right there after already blowing a couple by Lamb already in this at bat. Comes in a really tough spot, inheriting a quick runner at first base. Facing the 2-hole in this lineup, still no outs in this inning in a 2-run ball game.
And on that ball in the dirt, Bearden was not taking off on the pitch, but you can see even a moment of hesitation allows him to take the bag. He takes a big secondary lead. And as soon as he saw that ball in the dirt, Pettit had no shot. So a runner at third. The 2-2 count and the fastball blown by Lamb for strike 3. And a big out because Lamb, not just his speed, he does have some power in that bat. 5 home runs on the year, so he could have put a swing that could tie this one up, as can the man at the plate. This is the heart of the St. Thomas order. Tristan Pitkin, the catcher, will try to bring home Bearden from third or more. But he swings past a fastball, and Corey Cater going right after these Celt hitters with the heat.
Yeah, and for the first time in this series, really, these Celt hitters are seeing a big righty on the mound who's coming right at him with a fastball. Exactly what Pitkin saw on that first pitch. He was well behind it. Tried to make the adjustment right there. Corey Cater does a nice job to pull the string on that one. Going with that pitch that's fading arm side, low in the zone. Puts himself well ahead. 0-2 in this count. Another nice offering elevated in the zone right there, forcing Pitkin to swing the bat, but well behind it. Cater going up against the 3-hole hitter in this St. Thomas lineup, the guy that's, I think, hands down swung the bat better than anybody else this weekend, despite the result.
Cater misses a little high on that 0-2 delivery, trying to mix up the look after a couple of fastballs high in the zone. So Pitkin 1-2 with that runner on third. Bearden, the infield, playing back for the Tigers, more than willing to give up a run if it results in an out. Another fastball, and Pitkin does a nice job of laying off. The count now even at 2-2.
Yeah, but evident why it's so crucial that Cater got ahead 0-2 in this at-bat. Wanted the luxury of being able to locate pitches wherever he wanted to.
He blows a fastball by Pitkin. Another strikeout out of the pen for Corey Cater. 2 out of 2 batters he's faced.
Yeah, so you go up 0-2 in that count. You don't throw a couple of offerings, particularly close to the zone, that third and fourth pitch of the at-bat, but then you come back with that elevated fastball. And it's just too enticing for that 3-hole hitter, guy that's illustrated his power previously this season, as that one is sent foul down the right field line. That one looked like it remained in play, but MJ Metz running up into that fencing of that visitor bullpen, unable to haul that one in, and a little bit dangerous down there as he stuck his glove out and ran into the fence pretty hard trying to get after that foul ball.
Fastball high and outside. Pettit doing a nice job getting to it, not letting Bearden come from just 90 feet away. As we've seen, it doesn't always take a hit to score a run. Garza at the plate. Lays off that one in the dirt. Pettit again blocking it well. Cater will certainly have to be careful with Garza here, who could tie things up with one swing of the bat. Already a 3-run homer in this one in the first inning, and a 2-run shot in the 7th of Game 1. But a great pitch on the inside corner, and Cater 1 strike away from stranding Bearden at third. Yes, sir. Corey Cater strikes out the side and gets out of the inning with no runs across. The smile after the passion from the super senior, and the Tigers hold on to their 11-9 lead as it's time to stretch in San Antonio. big-time strikeouts from Corey Cater in the top half of the inning. And the Tigers look to give him some support. Colt Harris swings at the first pitch and keeps it fair. Colt will go into second base with a double. And he'll round second. Thinking about third for a moment, but instead a lead-off double for Colt Harris. And the Tigers have something going in the seventh.
Yeah, just a nice swing from Harris right there. Something that we've seen out of him all weekend long. He hasn't struggled to put the ball in play. Yesterday, in game 1 of the series, in 4 at-bats, he went hitless, but only struck out once so far here in this one. He had been hitless up until that point. Nice to see him get back in that column. Someone that had swung it incredibly, incredibly well. It was a big part as to why this Trinity offense had success over those past 9 games.
Certainly, he's been a little quiet, but it's a story of Trinity baseball where you can have more than one guy on the team not be at their best necessarily, but you don't even feel it because the rest of the lineup is picking them up, and that's certainly what has happened with Colt Harris and the Trinity lineup. Crazy to have Colt hitting over 400 coming into the series, and he doesn't have a hit until Game 3, yet the Tigers are just a few outs away from the sweep, but it's exactly where they find themselves. St. Thomas and Coach Wood going with another pitching change, bringing in pitcher number 5 of the evening. And it'll be to face the middle of this Trinity order. Noah Webb from Alvin, Texas will have the task.
And again, another Celt who enters this game. The number of innings pitched low, just 6 1/3 so far on this season. I think one thing that can be said, Brian, we talked already today about the future and what it holds for this roster. A ton of players that have been brought in, a ton of transfers, a ton of young guys, and a lot of guys on this staff that have had the opportunity to appear in games on the bump. And while they haven't all had the opportunity to throw elevated number of innings, it's nice that they've had the experience, and you have to imagine that in the coming years it's going to pay off. I'm certain that they won't all throw as they move into the future, but they've had the opportunity to get a lot of different guys on the mound, see what they all offer. For Webb right here, we see another unorthodox delivery.
And an unorthodox delivery, but an orthodox result. Gore with the hit and the RBI as the throw well up the line. And he ends up at second after that throw, so Ezra Gore not wasting any time swinging the bat against the new pitcher. And Trinity up now 12-9.
And a really nice swing from Ezra right there. Again, going right back up the middle with a pitch. Sees a fastball as soon as Webb enters the game right there. Sitting back on that one, gets it exactly where he wants it, middle. Does exactly what he needs to do with it, sending it back up the heart of the field.
We've seen Gore willing to swing the bat on the first pitch. Brolick has as well. And Brolick following through, swings at the first pitch, fouls it back the other way. Brolick managing to maintain that average at 500. Now, granted, he hasn't made the amount of at-bats or appearances that the rest of the team has, but he's now at the double-digit mark for appearances on the year. The at-bats are getting up there. He is just hitting the ball remarkably well. So the average not lying.
On top of that, that average has dipped a little bit for Brolick. I know previously it was up there right around the 600 mark. I think you're right. Well, he hasn't had as many at-bats and plate appearances as guys like Gore and Metz have so far this season. It's not like he's 2 for 4 on the year. He's put up 20-plus at-bats to this point. After today, certainly imagine that that's creeping closer to that 30 at-bat mark. All season long, he's swung it really, really well. I know that stretch that we talked about was 10 at-bats where he went 9 for 10. Know that he's a guy that these coaches seem to go to when opposing teams put out right-handed pitchers on the mound, but the way that he swings it, I have to imagine that he's earned consideration to be in the lineup every day, if not getting the consideration to come into games as a pinch hitter at some point.
It's yet another example of what Coach Tim Scannell's talked about all year. There's about 15 or 16 guys that could easily play on any given night, but of course you can't have all of them. But Brolick making a case to be one of the 9 on every night. He lines a double to the left field fence, drives in Ezra Gore, and the spectacular evening for Nathan Brolick continues, with the Tigers now up 13-9.
And again, we see these left-handed hitters willing to go the other way with the baseball. That one hit incredibly, incredibly well off the bat of Nathan Brolick. Deposits that one down in the left field corner. Incredible showing with the bat in his hands today. That hit moves to 3, 4, 5. Go back earlier on in this one. Think about that ball he deposited over the right field wall. An absolute no-doubt shot. But on that last hit, illustrating the power that he has to all fields.
Brolick now 3 for 5 with 3 RBI in Game 2. He was 1 for 4 with 3 RBI as well in Game 1 of the doubleheader. So 6 runs batted in for Brolick, the senior, getting more and more opportunities as the season goes along. Big swing from Brian Schaub on the changeup from Webb, but it fell just enough to avoid the bat of the outfielder. You can see and you can hear the wind picking up considerably as it's now fully dark in San Antonio. The 1-2 count. And the ball pops off the glove of the catcher Pitkin. Brolick will advance to third.
And I know you talked about that wind earlier on today when both of those flags out in center field were blowing directly out. That wind coming from straight up the middle. Know that it was flying at 16 miles per hour earlier on today, but it's picked up even from that point all the way up to 19 miles per hour right now in San Antonio.
Schaub swings at that delivery that crosses from right to left on the plate. Stays alive with the 2-2 count. Still nobody out in this inning. Already 2 runs across the score. Harris started things off with a double down the line. Webb came in to pitch for Craig, but more of the same as Gore singled in a run, Brolick doubled in a run, and now Schaub the first out of the inning as he strikes out on the pitch from Webb.
Yeah, it looks like Webb goes back to that changeup right there. Really nice pitch. Not a ton of movement on it, but just enough fade to have Brian Schaub swinging and missing over the top of it.
Now a pinch hitting situation for Jack Wisniewski. Played in Game 1 of the doubleheader, but did not start in Game 2. But now he's in there in the spot that Christian Holloway was in. So Christian getting the start at third base, knocked in a couple of hits. Was replaced on the base paths by Ty Preston, and now replaced defensively and offensively by Wisniewski. With Brolick over there at third and Wisniewski at the plate. The two San Antonio natives looking to provide run number 14 for the Tigers. And not just any San Antonio natives. Two San Antonio natives that went to the same high school. Wisniewski ahead 2-0. Wisniewski able to wait back. That pitch looks so enticing. But he holds back, and now plenty to work with a 3-0 count. And Webb will say, do not want to mess with Wisniewski at all. We'll just walk him intentionally. Ball 4, signaled by the umpire, and it'll bring up Tyler Pettit, which I know with the right-handed hitter and the right-handed pitcher might be the better option for Webb, but don't know many people that would want to face Tyler Pettit right about now.
Certainly agree with you there, Brian. Certainly Wisniewski had the advantage in that last at-bat, standing in there from the left-handed batter's box. As that one gets behind the plate, lodged in the fence back there behind home plate, and that'll allow Brolick to come in and score. Wisniewski will advance at least 90 feet on the base paths right there. He'll be on the left side of your screen, just barely in that shot. For Webb, just pulling that pitch, something that we saw earlier on today, a pass ball allowing a runner from third base to come in and score. Pitkin has had his work cut out for him all night long.
Pettit bounces it to the third baseman Newcomb, fires it over to first for the out. Runner unable to advance. Wisniewski stays at second. But we've seen a little bit of everything today. The Tigers with 16 hits on the board, responsible for those 14 runs. But it's also the 4 wild pitches in this game have had a big impact for St. Thomas, seeming to come at the most inopportune times. And we see another example of that in this inning. Webb trying to spin one into Vonderhaar, misses high for ball 1.
You think about things from the flip side, though, Brian. So many pitches that just got away, kicked off of catcher Tyler Pettit in the wrong way early on that first inning. It's a big reason why the Celts were able to scratch 7 runs across at that point in the game. Now, we talked about it a little bit at that point. When you see balls in the dirt, you're going to have some that kick away every once in a while, especially when it's those guys coming in and throwing those breaking balls super consistently. The rotation and the spin on those pitches, causing them to kick back in opposite directions, making it incredibly difficult to block. And Tyler Pettit had done such a nice job all season long. That inning, those just piling up.
Once again, it looks like we won't bother trying for ball 4. We'll just give it to Jack Vonderhaar, who was ahead 3-0 already. The umpire sending him over to first, so some interesting decisions in the bottom of the 7th being made to bring up Tanner Haney with 2 outs and 2 runners on. Webb already allowing 2 runs to come across to score in 2/3 of an inning. He gave up 2 runs in 1 inning pitched in his last time out against Our Lady of the Lake on March 29th. You've probably heard us say Our Lady of the Lake a whole bunch. Trinity faced them earlier this week, and St. Thomas faced them the week before. St. Thomas before transitioning from the NAIA to Division III. They were in the same conference as Our Lady of the Lake, the Red River Athletic Conference, so their baseball teams never faced off against one another since this is just the 3rd year for the baseball team. But in every other sport, the Saints and the Celts matching up quite often. The Saints defeating the Celts in both of their games on March 29th. And then Trinity beating Our Lady of the Lake here in San Antonio in the battle for Fiesta that the Tigers won. Webb falling behind on Haney here after the intentional walk. 3-1 the count to the shortstop. And ball 4 to Haney. So intentional or non-intentional, the walks continue to pile up for Webb.
Yeah, and I think understandable that you put Vonderhaar and Wisniewski on base in this inning. I think putting Vonderhaar a little bit more understandable, considering the fact that you have the 9-hole hitter coming up to the plate, but when you turn around and have to face MJ next and the subsequent at-bat, you really need to make sure you get that final at before he has the opportunity to come to the plate, now with the bases loaded.
It will be another pitching change, the second of the inning for Coach Wood and the Celts. We'll take a quick break on Tiger Network. On the other end, a bases loaded opportunity for MJ Mets. The bases are loaded. There are 2 away. MJ Mets at the plate and a new pitcher for the Celts. It is Caleb Desolitz with the task of keeping this at a 5-run deficit. Mets already 3 for 5 today. We've highlighted how he's driven in 10 runs, and he's got plenty more out there. Looks at a first pitch ball high. 1-0 Desolitz came into Game 3 against TLU last weekend, and he picked up the loss against the Bulldogs. Mentioned that the Celts were actually up 9-8 in the 8th inning, but Desolitz gave up 3 runs to the Bulldogs and allowed them to sweep St. Thomas. Here he gets Mets to chop it to third. A tough throw from Newcomb, but he makes it and gets Mets for the third out of the inning. But the damage is done for the Tigers. 3 runs on 3 hits. They do leave 3 on base, but they take a 5-run lead into the 8th inning as the Tigers look for win number 10 in a row. 14-9, the score now in the 8th inning. And Corey Cater back on the mound after quite the inning out of the bullpen. His first time coming out of the pen on the 2022 season. And he showed what type of energy he brings when he is at his best. He struck out the side, and it looked dominant. His fastball just going right past the bats of these Celt hitters. Not much of a chance to catch up to it. When he's throwing full speed, it's up to about 94 miles per hour on the radar gun. You can see Fields just waving at it and missing. No chance to catch up to it.
Yeah, and it's an especially difficult task considering who these hitters have faced so far this weekend. You have Shavana, you have DeRoe, who went a long distance in this one. Martinez, who bridged the gap in game 1 of the doubleheader. A lot of right-handers, but a lot of guys that like to mix up their stuff. A lot of guys that are even willing to lead with the breaking ball at times. But Cater, in this relief appearance here today, has been almost exclusively fastball, and it's been incredibly impressive.
It continues. Fields way behind the fastball. Strikeout number 4 out of 4 hitters for Corey Cater. Pettit wanting it high. Cater gets it high, and Fields back to the dugout. Galvan will be the next one to give it a shot.
For Cater on the mound, no point in changing what's working. I mentioned that's 4 batters faced. It's 4 strikeouts. Came into the game in the top of the 7th in a tougher spot. Leadoff runner had reached for St. Thomas. What was at that point still just a 2-run ball game. That was Bearden, who was on first base when Cater came in, was able to advance all the way over to third, but didn't matter for Corey, able to shut down this St. Thomas offense in that half inning. And he's just continued to cruise here into the 8th.
Cater falls behind on Galvan here 2-1. But coming into today and into this weekend, Cater had made 6 appearances on the year, and all of them have been as the starting pitcher. He had an 0-4 record with a 6.75 ERA. So he had struggled a little bit as a starter, gave up 4 runs against Dallas last week. But he came into this weekend with still some of the best stuff on this rotation, as you can see Galvan waving at another fastball. And pitching coach Dave Smith telling me that in his career, Corey Cater has seemed to just be more comfortable out of the bullpen than as a starter, so they were thinking of making that shift. And clearly it's happened today with him coming out of the bullpen as he walks Galvan here on the full count. So when Coach Smith told me that he had done so much better out of the bullpen, it got me thinking, got me wanting to look things up. And I'm a communication major. I don't do a lot of math on purpose. I seek to avoid numbers, but I wanted to crunch the numbers just like Corey would as an accountant who's getting a master's in accounting. So I looked back at his career at Trinity. This is his 5th season. And Cater here with some good contact given up to Herrera. So a runner on first and second now, but the math that I came up with, in his 5 years at Trinity, Corey Cater, coming out of the bullpen for 81 innings, and he's started for 86 innings, so very comparable amount of innings. Out of the bullpen, he has an ERA of 1.55, spectacularly low number. And as a starter, 4.29. Respectable number, but definitely higher than that 1.55. And what we've seen today so far with 4 strikeouts, all 4 of his outs via the strikeout, he just seems to be more himself out of the bullpen, able to really go full at it with that fastball and get it past these Celt hitters. And it's been working so far, and clearly a move that has worked in the favor of the Tigers, at least so far tonight.
Yeah, I'd certainly agree with you in regards to that, Brian. I think, having seen him throw so far this year, it's not those first at-bats from these opposing hitters, not the second at-bats more often than not, that start to get Cater in trouble. It's when he sees these guys for third, fourth, even fifth time in a game at times. But so far here in this one, he retired the first 4 batters he faced via strikeout. A little bit more traffic on the base paths right now as he falls behind to Newcomb 3-0. Does a nice job responding by pumping that fastball into the heart of the plate. Good position, just continue to throw strikes in a 5-run game. Force these guys to consistently barrel up the baseball. Only once has it happened in his appearance tonight.
That ball chopped to the left side, and it's going to get down the line and fair. Newcomb able to keep it fair, then trying to take second. He's going to be called out, trying to extend a single to a double. So Cater does allow a run to score on this one that just chopped over the bag, and Wisniewski over there. A really tough play for the third baseman, but a nice job by Schaub, not giving up on the play, and the tag applied by Harris in time for out number 2.
Yeah, but doing exactly what he needs to in that situation. Pitching to contact right there, inducing soft contact more or less. Just an unfortunate bounce in the infield, barely sneaks over the head out of, or the extended glove of Wisniewski down there at third base. But a nice job from Schaub in left field to get to that ball quickly, get it back into the infield, and steal an out over there at second base.
And it's really cool to see the conversation on the mound. Pitching coach Dave Smith paying Corey Cater a visit. With Cater being in his 5th year, certainly has had many conversations with his pitching coach. And not only do they share being pitchers and former pitchers, but they share their love of accounting. Corey getting his master's in accounting. Coach Smith also an accountant in his free time away from the baseball field. So I know the two have worked very closely together on more than one front.
I'm sure both of those guys would be incredibly proud of you and your number crunching. I know that they're cognizant of the fact that you're a communications major, but you could certainly surprise them with that math that you did, Brian.
Thank you, Dr. Erickson and quantitative research methods. I pay attention in every class here at Trinity, even the ones with numbers. The number we're looking for here, though, out number 3. Cater ahead, 0-1, and now 0-2 on Kahn. We've seen a slew of pinch hitters in this inning. Kahn, one of them. We saw Brown slated to be the pinch hitter, but then he was pinch hit for by Kahn. So just a little switcheroo ahead of this at-bat. And it won't matter who's at the plate. Corey Cater with strikeout number 5 allows 1 run in this inning, but keeps the lead intact for the Tigers. It is a 14-10 ball game as we head to the bottom of the 8th on Tiger Network. First pitch swinging, Colt Harris fouls it to his own dugout. And that's right, Luke, you said that Corey and Coach Smith would be proud of my accounting, but you're an accountant too. Are you proud of the math I did?
Oh, absolutely. Especially relating to the struggle that is trying to navigate and count all the numbers yourself, trying to put them into different documents, whether that be an Excel sheet, trying to do some scratch work on paper, whether it's just going back to the basic counting on your hands. It's not easy to do, and you're looking at a full career's worth of appearances, of earned runs, of innings pitched. So I know how difficult that task is, and I know how time-consuming it can be.
It was worth it. Definitely worth it.
I'd agree with you. I think that, we talked in between innings, and you used the term statistically significant, and I'd agree. I think that's the perfect phrasing of that. Cater, incredibly effective out of the bullpen, even more so than what you called a very respectable ERA in those career starts that he's had.
What'll be interesting to follow along with the Tiger baseball team as the season goes along is if Corey Cater does remain in the bullpen or if he gets the opportunity to start again. We've seen flip-flopping on both ends. We saw Joseph Shavana start the year out as the de facto closer for the Tigers, but now he's started his past couple of times. We've seen what that's resulted in, 2 complete games in a row. We've seen Harrison DeRoe go from being a starter to a dominant reliever, paying dividends here today. So now Corey might be the next one that tries it out of the bullpen. You need arms from start to finish, innings 1 through 9. So if Corey is more effective out of the bullpen, certainly could help this team down the stretch. Harris here starting the bottom of the 8th with a little pop-up to his counterpart at second. He's thrown out at first and brings up Ezra Gore. First pitch to Gore, a ball up and in from Desolate, the senior from Conroe, Texas. Foul ball from Gore as Desolates would love to make this not the last time that the Tigers come to bat. If he can get the baton to his offense and the Celts pull off a 4-run comeback at least to try to face the Tigers one more time, but the Tigers want just 3 more outs in the 9th to finish off a 3-game sweep of St. Thomas.
What a remarkable feat and meaningful feat that would be, Brian. They're coming back from down 7-0 in just the first inning here today. Now, we've talked a lot about the rest of the conference, the teams that are fighting for that position in 4th place. We've touched on this Trinity team. We've touched on Texas Lutheran at the top of the standings. Both of those squads right now having dropped 1 game to Centenary as Gore grounds that one over on the left side of the infield. Another close play, but Newcomb doing a nice job of getting that ball out of his glove and getting it on to Galvan over there at first to make sure that they retire the speedy Gore for the second out of the inning. It's worth mentioning, worth discussing the fact that both this Trinity team and that Texas Lutheran team have just that 1 loss in conference. So incredibly important that both these teams continue to win, try and set up an even greater series with more on the line when Texas Lutheran, the Bulldogs, visit Trinity here in San Antonio a couple weeks from now. Both of those teams certainly will be trying their absolute hardest to win and secure that number 1 seed as they head into the conference tournament. We talked about the tiers a little bit. Trinity and Texas Lutheran kind of separating themselves from the rest of the pack, but you mentioned earlier Centenary in that 3 spot, certainly below the top of the conference, but certainly above those teams that are vying for that 4 seed. And if you're Trinity or Texas Lutheran, teams that have both lost to Centenary this season, you'd rather be playing these teams in series that you've walked away with sweeps.
From the moment we saw that schedule come out earlier this year, and we saw TLU Trinity lined up at the end of April, we had a feeling it would be to decide the regular season champion of the SCAC, and it seems like it very well will be just that. Still some games between now and then, but April 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, some dates to circle on your calendar if you're a fan of good baseball, SCAC baseball, and Tiger baseball. The Bulldogs will be paying the Tigers a visit. A good old brawl between cats and dogs. Brolick again with some hard contact and again with a base hit. He sneaks it down the right field line, will be held to a single. But Nathan Brolick, have yourself a day. 4 for 6 with 3 RBI and a home run.
Yeah, and what's maybe even more impressive is the manner in which he's had this performance, using the entire field. Put the ball on the ground as he did right there, but he's also put it in the air and sent it out of the ballpark with that big towering shot that he had early on in this one way back in the first inning to get the Tigers on the board. Big reason that they were able to get back into it. Incredibly important that they scratched a couple of runs off after giving up those 7. It seemed like it really, really changed the mood and the atmosphere of this game.
It was a little way to say to St. Thomas that we're still here. We're not going to go down quietly. And quietly is the last thing the Tigers have been tonight. 2 touchdowns up on the board. And the Tigers going for 2 here with an RBI from Brian Schaub. He's safe at first with a single. And Nathan Brolick comes around to score. 15-10, the lead for Trinity.
Yeah, and Brolick's big home run in that one, or early on in this one, combined with the relief appearance from Harrison DeRoe, really cemented the Tigers as sticking their foot back in the door, making sure that St. Thomas couldn't shut it on them. Now, they've outscored St. Thomas since that top of the first inning, 15-3. So, have really turned things around, a full 180 here in Game 3 of the series, and it doesn't seem like they're entirely done yet.
This 15-run, 18-hit performance so far, matching both the season high in runs and the season high in hits for Trinity. So Wisniewski with the opportunity to break the season high in both those. Looks at a ball inside for the count to 2-0. And Wisniewski also the opportunity to join the hit parade. He joined the game quite late and hasn't had an official at-bat recorded since he walked in his last time when he pinch hit. So he wants to join his teammates who have all recorded a hit today. All 9 starters for the Tigers in the hit column. And not many of them have been cheap either. Just absolute rockets off the bats of these Tigers. And Wisniewski won't get a hit, but he'll get a second walk, so he's been productive in his chances at the plate. So now Tyler Pettit will try to break through with run number 16 and hit number 19 to try to set some new season highs for the Tigers. Not that they're trying to break season highs, but for people who love stats as much as I do, it's fun to keep track of.
And that must be a little bit of a conundrum for you, Brian. Obviously, a love affair with statistics, and I agree with you on that one, but the job's made a little bit easier for me as an accountant, and I know you've already shared your disdain to numbers here in this one.
You've just summed up the life problem in about 2 seconds, Luke. Good job. Really hard-hitting analysis right there. You've analyzed not just the game, but Brian Yanselson. Summed it up quite nicely.
I think you manage pretty well.
It's easy to love stats when there's stats like season highs in hits and runs. Highs in hit by pitches, too. Some more painful than others. One stat that's easy to keep track of and count. Victories. And the Tigers looking to make it 10 in a row. Pettit ahead of Desolates, 2-1 here with 2 outs and 2 runners on. And a shot off the bat of Pettit gets into left field. The runners will hold up at their respective bases. So 1 by 1 go the Tigers around the bases. There's the season high in hits, y'all. Now we just need the season high in runs.
Just 90 feet away. And another hot shot off the bat of Tyler Pettit. You mentioned earlier, Brian, not many of the hits coming for the Tigers have been cheap ones. A lot of them have been barreled up really, really nicely. It's an offense that's hitting the middle third of the baseball. And a 5-run game here in the bottom of the 8th. Bases loaded with 2 outs. Desolates will have the ball taken from him. We'll have a new pitcher on the mound for St. Thomas.
And hold on a second, Luke, because it looks like they're trying to steal our season high in hits. They're calling it a fielding error on the shortstop. Couldn't get a great look at that one. I thought that was a base hit into left field.
Yeah, based on that first angle, it's a little tough to tell, but I don't know, even if that one's fielded cleanly, they record the out over there at first base. Maybe there's an out to be had at second or third, but you saw Tyler Pettit steal a bag earlier on in this one, run surprisingly well for the catcher position.
I guess Vonderhaar will just have to get a hit to make it safe in the hit column and the run column for the season high, and he'll have to do it against a left-handed pitcher. Another call to the bullpen. This will be pitcher number 7 for the Celts, Caleb Bachuk, the senior from Spring, Texas, the transfer from Frank Phillips College. Vonderhaar has a whole bunch of buddies out there on the base pass. Schaub at third, Wisniewski at second, Pettit at first. The Tigers run ruling the Celts earlier today in Game 1 of the doubleheader. And they're not too far off from something similar if they get a big blast from Vonderhaar, but this one has been more of a piece things together type of game. And Bachuk, maybe wanting a hats-off counter of his own, has his hat fall off as he warms up. But he has it securely on his head now as he prepares to face the lefty Vonderhaar. Runners back to their bases. And as the pitching change was made, Coach Scannell saying, I'll put in a right-handed hitter to face the left-handed pitcher. Trey Verver coming up to bat and to pinch hit. We talked about Verver a little earlier on today on the broadcast as the batter who was hit 3 times before recording an official at-bat. Hopefully he has a less painful experience tonight, but the way the Tigers have been hit, you're not quite so sure. Verver looks at a first pitch strike.
Yeah, and a pitch right over the heart of the plate. Had Verver check his swing on it right there. Nice pitch from Bachuk. What looked to be another breaking ball. It's the second one in the row. Verver skies it. Looks like it'll stay in the infield, but that one getting down right around home plate.
Could have been the third out. Instead, another chance for a season high in hits and runs. Verver down 0-2, but with pop in that bat, the first year from Cedar Park, Texas, making his 8th appearance of the season, his first of the weekend. He pinch hit against Our Lady of the Lake and struck out. Here he looks at a breaking ball that Botchuk thought was strike 3, but instead it's ball 1. Verver played in one of those games against the Southwestern Pirates and went 3 for 5. Had a very productive afternoon. Here, another close breaking ball, another couple steps towards the dugout from Botchuk, but he'll have to reverse course and go back to the mound. A 2-2 count for Verver. The bases loaded with 2 outs in the 8th. Third breaking ball in a row. Verver puts it high up in the air. The catch is made by Bearden out there in center field. So the bases left loaded by the Tigers. They do score 1 here in the bottom of the 8th. 3 outs away from yet another SCAC sweep. Three more outs is all the Tigers need for victory number 10 in a row. And another sweep within the conference. The Tigers already having swept Southwestern at home, Dallas at home, and now trying to make St. Thomas their latest victim. The Tigers really defending their home field now, 14-3 in San Antonio. Pitch from Cater misses low behind 2-0 on the leadoff hitter Bearden. Fastball misses high as well, so a 3-0 count to the leadoff hitter. You can hear the St. Thomas dugout yelling, "We need base runners," and they certainly do. Bearden likely taking all the way here, and he is trying to fool the umpire into letting him go to first, but he'll have to come right back.
I talked earlier on in this one about falling behind in the count from a pitching standpoint. The fact that it forces you to throw more fastballs. Certainly something that's not an issue for Cater here in this one. It's a tough task. The big righty on the mound at 6'5", 6'6", arguably, throwing against a guy in Bearden standing in the batter's box at 5'7", and that real crouch stance that even further shrinks the strike zone.
Strike 1 to Lamb, so the Speedsters back up at the plate and on first. But with a 5-run deficit, less damage they can do individually. It'll take a group effort from St. Thomas to come back into this one. Cater misses low with a fastball. It's been a pretty perfect weekend for Trinity Athletics. We highlighted some action going on today on campus, but it's worth highlighting once again. Men's and women's tennis both going up to Austin College and defeating the Kangaroos. We had softball hosting Austin College and sweeping the Kangaroos out of town. Yesterday, the track and field team putting up some impressive results. Robert Slaybaugh breaking the school record in the hammer throw. He had a record 46.995 meter throw in the UIW Invitational. And now just 3 outs away from a sweep by the baseball team. So the spring sports really picking right up where the fall and the winter sports left off at Trinity.
Yeah, it's been incredible seasons across the board for those fall sports, winter sports. And as you mentioned, now here in the spring, teams really starting to pick it up, and that includes this baseball team. It's just a couple of outs here away from a sweep. A couple of outs from a 10th consecutive victory. Go back before this streak started, they were sitting at that 10-7 mark. Opportunity now to move to 20-7, doubling their win total. They've just looked like a completely different team over this stretch of games. With the way the offense is played today and the way that the pitching staff has looked outside of that first inning, doesn't look like there's any indication of things stopping soon. And right there, Lamb, it's the short end of the stick. The home plate umpire says he did go around that 2-2 count. That one goes down as strike 3, and another strikeout here for Corey Cater. Have a good angle there, and it looks like that barrel does break the plane. You can see that barrel extending out past his hands. He's doing his best, moving forward in the box, trying to get the call in his favor. But a good, important first out from Cater right there after Bearden reached base safely, but he hasn't moved from that position.
Pat did a nice job jumping out in front of the plate, blocking that one and keeping Bearden at first. Again with the 5-run deficit, wanting to be extra careful on the base pass, but Bearden certainly someone that will take any opportunity given to him. Pitkin in the box with a 1-1 count. Pettit reaches back to grab that one low. That pitch inside, nearly hitting Pitkin. Cater falling behind 3-1 on the catcher. And you have to credit both Pitkin and Pettit, who are right by each other right now, the fact that they've caught both games of this doubleheader. Just so impressive. So no matter the results for the teams, you have to admire the effort that they have given.
Yeah, certainly a competitive game here in the conclusion of the series. Obviously, St. Thomas, most of their production on the day coming way back in the first inning, kept relatively quiet outside of that one. But a guy stepping into the batter's box right now that we've seen do some damage. That one skied out to right field. Right center, Gore will haul it in, make that throw back into the infield, but not before Bearden advances, tagging from second base. So now Celts, down to their final out, have runners at the corners.
Runners at the corners and a freshman at the plate, Israel Fields. The last opportunity for St. Thomas to stay alive in this one. But they need 5 runs, and they're down to their last out. Corey Cater coming in and showing some of his best stuff we've seen all year. Sammy Conti got the start, was not able to record an out, gave up 4 runs. Newman couldn't get an out either, but then Harrison DeRoe came in and struck out 10 across 6 innings to give the Trinity offense a chance to come back in this game, and come back they have. They're up 15-10. And a strike called there on Fields.
And a couple of pitches ago, after receiving it, Tyler Pettit behind the plate put his hand on his chest protector, leaning forward a little bit, just reminding Cater on the mound to finish. There's one thing that he perhaps has struggled with a little bit in this one. It's with leaving that fastball up out of the zone, but immediately came back through a strike. Had another one right there. It's foul tipped into the glove of Pettit that has the Tigers just 1 strike away from finishing the series.
3-2 the count. Runners at the corners. Cater, the super senior from Sacramento, California, looking to finish things off. Strike 3 called, says the home plate umpire. I hope you have your brooms handy, Tiger fans. That's victory number 10 in a row, and a 3rd consecutive SCAC series sweep right here in San Antonio. A remarkable comeback by the Tigers, down 7-0 in the first inning, but they managed to come together as a team and come all the way back for the 15-10 victory. What a weekend, what a day, and what a win streak for the Tigers.
Absolutely, Brian. I know we said on the broadcast yesterday that this wasn't a series in which we expected to see any run rules, but outside of the 7 innings, or the 7 runs that were given up in the first inning here today, we would have had 2 on our hands. The Tigers' bats really woke up in day 2 of this series. Across the doubleheader, they scratched 28 runs. And it, as you mentioned earlier on, wasn't on anything cheap. A number of home runs off the bats of the Tigers, a number of balls that were barreled, and it was the majority of their hits. But again, in this one, we see the 15 runs right next to the 18 hits. So it's in large part thanks to the fact that the Tigers get runners on in a lot of different ways, and they make sure to bring them home frequently.
The offense, of course, stands out whenever you see a season high matched in runs and in hits with those 15 runs, 18 hits, 5 runs batted in by MJ Metz with a home run as well. Nathan Brolick homering and driving in 3. But really, when you look at it and what allowed this Trinity team to win the game, it's the pitching from Harrison DeRoe and Corey Cater that kept the St. Thomas offense at bay and allowed the Trinity offense to slowly chip away at that deficit. Harrison DeRoe matching a career high in strikeouts, 10 across 6 innings, in which he gave up just 2 hits and 2 runs. And then Corey Cater, he came in for 3 innings, and of the 9 outs he got, 7 of them were strikeouts. Just incredible performances on the mound and at the plate this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Through and through, incredible performances on the mound, on the field defensively, in the batter's box. You can circle that 7. And outside of that, the Tigers were what they have been over their past 2 games in this series and over this 10-game win streak that they've been on. It's been incredibly impressive to watch. And as we've already said, and will continue to say, there's no indication that things are going to slow down soon.
It's been a perfect homestand so far, and the Tigers will look to wrap up a perfect 8-game homestand on Tuesday night when they host the University of Mary Hardin Baylor We will have that for you right here on Tiger Network. That game is at 7 p.m. on Tuesday night. But until then, we will sign off for you here in San Antonio. Thank you so much to everyone in the control room working the cameras as always. Just a spectacular job done by everyone involved. Thank you always to Ryan Cedillo and Josh Muchigemba for allowing us to do what we do. And to everyone at home who tunes in, we love bringing you the stories of Trinity baseball and are excited to keep doing it as the season goes along. For Luke Terry, I'm Brian Yanselson, and have a wonderful Saturday night.